Whoa, what happened here? Uh-oh. Wow, what? That's not the what we're looking. That's my bad. Whoopsie. That's a big old oopsie. That's a big old work in progress that probably should be deleted at this point. Whoops. Just a good old thing to learn, to have things prepared and know which things not to keep in your stream. Alright, let's go ahead and get Clyde on here. Clyde! Oh, Clyde boy. Let's see if he's gonna get on. There he is.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, sir. Let me get your video popped up on here.
Cool.
Looking sharp, looking good. Clyde!
Thank you, man.
Clyde!
What's going on?
Oh, you know, just doing my thing, just interviewing two people in the span of 5 hours. It is fan-frickin-tastic.
You gotta be exhausted, man.
Hell no! Are you kidding me? I live for this shit.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. I'm honestly, I know we talked about taking a break at some point so you go get some food. I'm honestly doing that for you. I could sit here for a long ass time. I'm a stubborn Southern boy.
I believe it. I believe it.
You've seen me at events. Like when I have my mind set on something, I hardwire myself to that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been so long since going to an event. I can't even remember the last TwitchCon I went to now, and I think about it.
Were you not at? Oh God, I forgot the last one was canceled. Damn it. Were you not at last year's, like 2019's?
The last one I was at was in San Jose, whatever year that was.
That was 2018. Damn, dude, really? It's been that long?
Where was 2019?
That was San Diego.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they went back to San Diego. Yeah, and San Diego was great because the first TwitchCon was in San Diego. But yeah, I couldn't make that one.
That sucks, dude. What were you working at that moment?
I think so. TwitchCon, is TwitchCon like October/November? It's October, right?
Right.
Yeah, no. October 2019 was like rough times. Like I had a lot bigger priorities going on, and I couldn't really afford to take time away to go to TwitchCon. Although TwitchCon, I usually go for work related stuff, but I couldn't make it that year.
What happened? You're saying some big things. What happened on the cause you missed 2019?
I mean, so that was like at the time where like things were really starting to wind down at Gamers Grid. I think I officially closed. I think I closed. Like I filed the paperwork. Like I think October 30th to close. I can't remember. Yeah, it had.
Oh, that's.
I want to say it was October 30th. That like I decided to just like close the chapter and like start the process of like winding stuff down or whatnot.
Well, do you want to go ahead and talk about that? Because that's a big story. That's a huge part of your life, right there.
Yeah.
You just want to go ahead and get into it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like I probably wouldn't know you if it wasn't for Gamers Grid and like all the time that I spent working with that. Because that definitely took me a lot of places, met a lot of good people.
So explain to people what Gamers Grid was, because that was a company you founded yourself.
Yeah. So essentially, Gamers Grid was a matchmaking platform designed to help gamers find the right people to play with, regardless of what games they play, when they play, or how they play. So if you were playing Overwatch, but you wanted to find somebody that was a support to kind of play with your group of friends, then you can do that. But if you also, you never played League of Legends and you happen to want to find other people that are still in the beginning stage of League of Legends, you could also do that. Because the idea really came about when I was playing Battlefield. And I remember Battlefield being like a ton of fun when I had like my friends playing and we were all mic'd up and, we had like coordination going. But the moment like my friends stopped playing and like I love Battlefield, but I couldn't play because there was just like I was just playing with randos and everybody was doing their own thing. And then I started to notice that the same thing would happen for racing games. I remember playing Project Cars and like it being like super chaotic. And then I
Yeah.
played like Star Wars Battlefront and it was like the same thing. And so I kind of just looked at like, there's a million dating apps, which is super valuable, but there's no easy way to find good teammates. And so I tried to like make it an
You think honestly people would find that as such a valuable thing because dude, first of all take it from a gamer myself who makes the dumb decision to play League of Legends for 8 hours straight. Solo queue is garbage.
yeah.
And it's full of garbage people who are probably nice people in real life.
Yeah.
But in it's just something about like when you're with someone who you haven't met, you literally become a troll. You become a literal troll. It's just like ugh. I I I'm surprised. The first time you and I talked about that idea, it's probably I think that was one of the first Bay Area Live events we met, and you told me about Gamers Grid. I was I
Yeah.
was literally smacking myself in the head, just like, how has no one else thought of this before?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's
It's
crazy.
like there were always LFGs, but I think LFGs were always fractioned off. So I remember like World of Warcraft had like a specific like team find LMG, which was easy to get to.
Mhm.
And then there was like some other games like Dota, for example. Dota had like a specific like I would say like matchmaking app, but when it came to console there was literally nothing.
Nobody. Yeah,
Um,
nothing. It's amazing to me. You always talk about ideas like that. I always talk about. I was so. Are you familiar? You're familiar with Rooster Teeth, correct?
Rooster Teeth?
Yeah, the production company based in Austin, Texas.
No, no.
So,
What did they do?
so theirs is mostly comedy-based productions, but their founder, Bernie Burns, always had a piece of advice regarding ideas where it says, if you want to become a billionaire, just wait 5 years after the latest communications app and just make another communications app, another text app. Which
Yeah,
honestly, it sounds about right because literally Discord now is becoming $1 billion idea, and now we have Zoom.
yeah,
Nobody knew what Zoom was until this pandemic occurred. It's
that's true. Yeah.
it's fascinating to me how these ideas come to be, and so it occurs to me that that type of idea, the one that you had, it has a success point. It has a point of where I literally just went off track. I literally just went off track of describing this. But the fact is, the idea that queuing up with friends has a huge value, and
Yeah.
it's almost like it's just proving that gaming itself is still being treated like the like younger stepchild of the family
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah. Right. And especially I would say in America. Because when you hear news about gaming, it's like, it's the news that will just grab the headlines.
Mm-hmm.
It's PewDiePie makes $12 million a year. First of all, PewDiePie does, didn't stream game for a long time. And then it's always like the Dota prize money is X amount of millions of
Oh
dollars. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
dear God!
Or like
But they all
Fortnite.
go to the Koreans.
Right. Yeah, right, definitely. It's more of an export. But yeah, you still tend to hear that. And so I don't know. I think it's just like it's only a matter of time really until like stuff really picks up. But yeah, I mean, like even though Gamers Grid didn't work, I would love to see somebody else pick up the idea and take it all the way.
Oh yeah.
Because I think it's a problem, and like having an idea is only really part of the equation. Executing is like the much bigger half. It's like an iceberg, right? Like the top of the iceberg is the idea, and the bottom is like the execution, and all it takes to
Oh yeah.
actually make
Well,
the
that's how
shit
it is with
work.
all ideas. So going back to your company, so you have Gamers Grid. You had your partner with you. I believe it was a friend of yours, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, so it was my co-founder Gary, who I met through another friend, Derek, and
Mm,
yeah, Gary was based out of Michigan, and yeah, we like he was basically my technical co-founder, and I was mostly in charge of all the business stuff.
right. So you guys, when did you first found the company? It was back in 2016, wasn't it?
2016.
Yeah.
2016 is when like I actually like filed an LLC. Like the idea was brewing and things were moving. A couple months before that, like
Right.
I knew I was like building a company the moment like I invested in an iPad to build out the wireframe.
Right.
When it was like when I dropped that like $500, I was like, oh shit, all right, like I gotta go ahead with this.
So you have the company, and things are going pretty well. I've seen Gamers Grid get a lot of attention, especially from the convention scene. But I mean, what was the point? What was the end point that it was like I? Because the first time you told me that you were shutting down the company, it was kind of a shock to me.
Yeah,
But I'd love to for you to kind of tell that story of what transpired.
I would say kind of the root cause, and that would be like my biggest advice to like anybody out there, or like what I always like tell other founders is a lot of people don't have a technical background, and so they're just like, oh, there's no way I can code, like there's no way I can build this by
Mm-hmm.
myself. And my biggest mistake really was to start off by hiring a development company. And I think I paid maybe like, let's say 20 grand, right,
Mm-hmm.
to get like the MVP, the first version of the app out. But once that MVP was out and, our contract was over, they had zero involvement. So they basically gave me an app that had a bunch of errors, that had like typos within the database. Anytime we tried to update it, we would lose assets. And so we were basically always fighting back, trying to overcome these technical challenges. And I would say, not being able to own 100% of that was definitely a big problem,
Mm-hmm.
because then it put me in a position where I was relying on my co-founder to fix all of these problems. Whereas instead, if I would have had, just a little bit more of technical adeptness, I could have fixed, 10 or 15% of the problems, like the smaller stuff. And not being able to stay light on our feet really hurt us. But eventually, the real big nail in the coffin was basically around, I would say it started, so 2019 was the year we shut down. 2018 is basically where we were at a point where we were like, all right, we had this influencer marketing campaign that went fairly well. We were getting so many users, the app was crashing. And so we're like, all right, like,
That's not
let's
good.
take
Not
this.
good.
It's not, especially for a matchmaking app,
Yeah.
because then, people churn, and then you don't want to have churned users within your app. Um, but we were at a stage where like, all right, we were able, like, I have this study, right, that like if I put in X amount of dollars, then I can exponentially grow the platform. And I feel like I had enough data that I can basically go out and fundraise. And so I went out and kind of like tried to fundraise a little bit. And I wasn't really hitting the full traction, like, that I really would have needed to. And but I was able to move a little bit. And then eventually, someone decided to come in and invest in what we'd call our pre-seed round. And the special someone was actually my stepmother. So my
Yep.
stepmother,
Here it comes.
yeah, it basically one like it wasn't like just an overnight thing, but she basically told me that she sold some old stuff, not just old stuff. It's like artifacts from her godfather to HBO, and she sold a lot of like rights to stuff, and she wrote a screenplay, and so all this stuff that was kind of out of nowhere, but it's like it's like it's your mom pretty much, so you're not like questioning stuff. And she basically told me that she has some money now, and so what she want to do with that money is invest in my company. And so keep in mind that she invested early on about $12,000. So, so I had, some proof that she invested money in. But this would have been for a much bigger round. And in 2018 going into 2019, we were looking for a pre-seed round, and we were really looking to raise like a $500,000
You
so we
wanted
could
you
hire
wanted
a
to
couple
make it
people.
legit. Like you wanted the legit.
Exactly.
Like I want employees. I want a property. I want you want
Yeah.
to have a home base.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then some runway and this and that. And so she agreed to invest in us. And so I go out, I hired an attorney. Converting an LLC from a C corporation is not cheap. It'll cost you about $10,000.
Yep.
But it's one of those things that you have to do before you take an investment, right? So I was like, all right, like I can get this done, right? Then I hire a CPA, and then January comes around. So me and her basically agreed on a price in December and agreed on a valuation. And then January comes around and she's like, all right, like, I'll have the money in your bank account by the end of the month. And so the end of the month comes around and like nothing. And so basically she told me that for some reason her brokerage firm is having some issues. And then February comes around, and now it's basically that Wells Fargo has an issue with a data warehouse or something like that. And so they lost her transfer. And so now she has to do another transfer from her brokerage firm.
So I'm going to put a pause right here. So as a guy who works at a bank, I'm going to tell the audience this firsthand. That does not happen. Like if we have if in wire transfers especially, this is a very boring situation, but I always want to remind people
Yeah.
that banks have safety situations. So if something went wrong with a transfer, like a wire transfer, it goes back to the originator. Like it immediately goes back. There's no like piracy sort of situation where like a pirate literally reaches out from the sky and grabs the money. Like there's
Yeah.
none of that. So the first time you told me that, I was like, all right, bullshit. Just
Red flag. Yeah.
yeah, red flag. Like sorry,
Yeah.
I interrupted because that thing definitely got me tilted a little bit.
No, but I mean, it's good to know because I had no idea at the time, and it was just like it's like it's your so to give context, I'd known my stepmom for since I was like 12 years old, and
Right,
I'm like damn near 30 now. You know what I mean?
right.
And so it's like it's somebody that raised you. You know what I mean? And so it's like you don't like you don't really question them, but like something was kind of like what the fuck is going on? Like,
Oh
am I
yeah.
just having the worst of luck? But yeah, I mean, long story short, I was like, I told her, like, can you do this? Like, we're gonna quit our jobs. Like, me and my co-founder are gonna quit our jobs, and we're gonna go at it and do this full time. And she was like, yeah, don't worry, the money will be there by the end of the month or whatever it might be. And I was like, all right, cool. I have these credit cards, and we're not gonna spend too much money. I bet I can cover on these credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we quit our jobs. We hired an engineer. We hired a graphic designer. We're still paying the attorney, still paying the CPA. And we all met up at GDC. We kind of had like a kickoff kind of thing where we're all like on the same page.
God, big
We all
moment.
had our
Yeah.
plans on, you know what I mean, like what we're gonna do, this and that. And so that was going, and yeah, it was just like every other week it was like a new thing. It was like, oh yeah, Chase isn't working, or like, oh, I have to open a Chase account to get it to your
Oh,
Chase account.
dude,
And
like the financial brain in my head right now is just cringing, just hearing that.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, I mean it's crazy because yeah, I mean I never would have expected that coming from family, especially from somebody that like raised you, invested in you, invested in a company before, you know what I mean.
Right.
But yeah, and it's like, and it wasn't just me. We hired people. Like these people are going to be paid. Like I'm literally going into debt, like taking money out of my, like there was a point where I was like living out of my savings. Depending on you, you're counting on somebody, and so there was a point. I think it was either June or July where I told her, and it was just like it got to the point where it was like, hey, do you have the money? Because if you don't, I need to know. And she was like, yes, I have the money. The number that we ended up agreeing upon was 900,000 because she said she could invest up to 1 million, but I tried to like, it just feels weird getting 900,000 from one person. So I was like, let me give you exactly how I'm going
Oh
to
yeah.
spend this money. And 900,000 is way more than enough. But in July, she was like, oh, I don't know if I could do 900,000, but I could probably do 600,000. And I was like, okay, when can you
Okay.
have it?
Still
And
works out
then
very well.
yeah, and right, exactly. It's still like a lot of money. And so, it was like, can we, when can you have it? In 2 weeks. Are you sure you can do this? Are you sure? Can I count on you? And it was like, yes, you can count on me. I'll have it in 2 weeks, I promise. 2 weeks later, nothing. Yeah. And so at that point, it was just like, all right, I had to face the reality where it's now July. I quit my job in March. We are burning cash. We're started redesigning this app. I have an engineer that I haven't paid anything. And actually, I owe him, some money because he flew out to San Francisco to go to GDC and this and that.
Oof.
So I just went right back to fundraising. And so this time it was, I would definitely say that I was getting a lot more traction because, I had this fire under me. There was like a point where like,
Yeah,
hey, if you
I'd
don't get
probably
this money, then
say
it's off.
money owed to you is a pretty significant fire to set.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like throwing sodium into a bathtub full of water type of ignition. Like
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely puts a fire
so
under
yeah,
you.
so you went through the fundraising.
Yeah, so I went back to fundraising, and then I was able to get some meetings with investors, and then like investors like really dissected the company, and it was investors I talked to that said no, but they gave me really good feedback. And
That's
basically,
good.
what I found out is that consumer space is now very hard to raise money for as a startup because it's so hard to be sustainable because you're fighting basically your customer acquisition costs versus the lifetime value of each user. So even if you have a subscription model where you're charging people, $10 a month, you have to be constantly replenishing your database with new
Hmm.
users because you're going to have users that churn out. And especially for a matchmaking platform, it's kind of like the Tinder thing, right?
Right.
Where they constantly have to get new people in, and they can't let people get tired. And I had some objections to that because my thing is that gaming is different from dating because when you date, you find a girlfriend, you would think you leave Tinder or whatnot. But gamers are always playing new games. But those were fair criticisms that we were going to have to spend a lot on customer acquisition, especially in order to hit that critical mass. But yeah, so I went fundraising. Still didn't get what we were looking for. And then also while that was going on, my co-founder, like, he needed to find a job, so he
Right.
found a job. And once he found his job, he was just kind of like, you know what? Like, I just don't think the startup thing is for me. Like all that stress we just went through, even if we were to get funding, like I still want to help, but I can't like do it full time.
Right.
And so now, which is completely fair. At least he told me in
Well,
advance, and I.
it sucks because the struggle is people always talk about and I'm gonna put a pause on it right there because there's a huge deal with startups and entrepreneurship that people forget, and always people use hustle and fire and stuff like that because they see like Gary
Yeah,
V or
yeah,
God, I can't. I always keep forgetting the guy's name who is like the big guy. Like he's the guy you go to for like those business inspiration meetings. Uh,
uh,
it'll
is it Casey Neistat?
No, not Casey Neistat. No, there's a big guy. Like he's like in his 50s. He's like almost louder than I am. Almost. And he talks about inspiring people to go out and live their dreams or doing a business or anything like that. I the name will come to me, but people
Mark
always
Cuban?
no, no, not Mark Cuban. Although close. I think he actually partners with Mark Cuban. It'll come to me. I'll probably look it up in a moment. But
All right.
people always forget the other word of that, which is struggle. Most entrepreneurs and businessmen, especially small businessmen and startups, uh, they don't stick with the job because it's like the hustle. They stick with the job because they even love dealing with the struggle.
Yeah.
Or appreciate dealing with the struggle. Literally, I just interviewed the CEO of Ateo, Rachel Feinberg. I almost said Feinstein again. I've done that so many times when preparing for an interview. But I just interviewed Rachel Feinberg, and her and her company, they've had some moments where they were struggling, but her and her partner and her employee, they worked through it, man. They just kept going.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's a hard mentality to have. It's one that's not for everybody. It's
Yeah.
people always talk about wanting to build their own company, but there's a difference between starting a real estate company or a consulting firm versus literally building an idea or in my case, entertainment, which
Mhm.
is just a full guarantee for profit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say in my case, what really like surprised me the most is how lonely I was.
Yeah,
Um, like especially in those, you think you have, like I had family that supported me, that were like, I mean, outside of my stepmom that were, that were there for me to like, to talk to me and stuff. And, I had co-founders, but when shit was hitting the fan, I was like, do I tell them, we only have like a month, or
yeah.
like, do I tell them, that I don't think my stepmom is gonna come through, and and kind of like distract them, and it's like, nah, you just gotta take that shit on, and kind of like stick it to yourself, and kind of
There's a weird
suffer for them.
Yeah, there's a weird moment of internal fighting that you have, and the for me, it used to be that there's like a way you react to yourself internally, and for some cases, it's either you start punching yourself, not literally.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. Like, just first of all, as a reference, don't start punching yourself to make yourself feel better. It trust me, as a teenager, I did that. That did not help. Um, but the other one is you start laughing at yourself. And
Yeah.
there's an unhealthy way to laugh. There's a healthy way to laugh, and the unhealthy way to laugh is, oh crap, everything's burning, and everything's dying,
Yeah.
and the other way is like, huh, that happened. Like more of a slight dry humor where you just kind of go like, huh, neat. That happened. It's that realization, and very rarely do you get that latter one of that dry humor of going like, well, that was an episode. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I
and
mean, it happens here and there. I would say the way that it was for me, which was like really just like frustrating. What really put me in a hole is like trying to find ways to make things work, and
yeah,
like playing like you watch the show Queen's Gambit
yeah.
on
I
Netflix.
only
So
saw I only saw the first parts of it, but yes, I did.
you've seen the part where she's looking at the ceiling and she's picturing every move, right?
Right.
So it was kind of like that, where like I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm trying to find a way to find a move to make it work, but
Mhm.
they all end in checkmate. And so like in me getting checkmate. And
Right.
so like I'm trying to find a way to make things work. And like, you always hear about, oh, never give up on your dreams and this and that. And so you try to find a way to like like pull it out somehow. But like for example, like I found another engineer that was willing to like kind of work with us and stuff. Like after my co-founder found a job, but then we started working together, and I just realized like this wasn't it just wasn't realistic. Like we were just at this point where it was just like we needed a miracle, and so it would take a lot more than just like one person to like kind of get us out of that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, I looked at it from the other side, that it was like, well, like I learned a fuck ton of shit. Like I knew nothing about like building an app like 4 years ago, let alone run a company. And so I learned about all this stuff. And so I figured, you know what, like let me pack this up. And most founders, have built multiple like, businesses and stuff. And so I figured like, hey, the first one didn't work out, but the next one will be like, twice as good.
Yeah, that's a good confidence to have. I think Yeah, you mentioned the term, don't give up on your dreams. I think a lot of people take that as such a one note direction where it's just like, okay, I have to keep going. Gamer's Grid must
Yeah.
survive. It must live. Like, or I'll die trying.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't mean it. Just it I think, and I think at least you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems like It's not that you're giving up on your dreams. You are changing the way that dream is going to come true.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah, because I always hate that. It's like where we're dealing with that in a lot of different other subjects where people stick to one note and have a lack of flexibility. And there's an irony for me here where even though I'm physically inflexible, mentally I'm very, very aflexible. So it's kind of
Yeah.
so anytime I see someone who just fully gives up and says, nah, like obviously, even though I if I loved doing broadcasting and it was a fun thing to do, I'm not getting any viewers, and obviously people don't think I'm ugly, and I got this mean comment, so obviously I should give up. Like, it's just done. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. That's
Yeah, I mean that just means you don't want it hard enough, which is fine, right? Like it's just like it's not if you're not passionate about something,
or
I think that's good too.
you haven't seen the other avenues. You see, like most people. So in the case of acting, I'm not saying I'm an actor, but in the case of acting, it does happen where someone wants to be an action star, but
Mm,
finds out that they don't go through grueling. They don't go through workouts very well. They don't do stunts very well. They don't come up with very like heroic lines very well. But then they find out they are very good at comedy. So their moments of action come out as comedy. But it's like you can be an acting star if you do it through comedy, and it can work. And I
yeah,
think it's like I said, you have to be sometimes to reach a dream that you expect. You have to be mentally flexible about the
yeah,
pathways that are going to happen.
yeah. I agree 100% with you.
Otherwise, you are just going to accept failure. You're not just going to accept failure, but you're never going to learn from failure. You're never going to learn about the world you live in, or the people you walk with, or the people that watch you, or the people or the environments that you're building, or even more internally, your overall health and mentality. You'll never learn how to build yourself better by just accepting that it must be this one path, and therefore if I don't make it through this path, I therefore fail, and that's it.
Yeah,
It's done.
I've been thinking about that a lot more lately, and I think when I learned that lesson was actually like back in high school playing football. So I wanted to play receiver, but I wasn't the fastest. I was decent. I wouldn't say that I was slow,
Mm-hmm.
but my hands weren't the greatest. But I wanted to play
Ooh.
receiver so bad. The thing is that I could block pretty decently. And my coach told me, I remember one day he told me, if you move to tight end, we'll get you on the field a whole lot more than if you go to receiver.
Oh,
But you
that's
got
good.
to go through the tight end drills. And I was so stubborn that I was like, fuck that. I want to play receiver. I'm sticking receiver. And guess where I sat for like the whole season? On the damn
Oh
bench.
yeah. Oh yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
I feel it. Dude,
Yeah. And I was
you're
just
talking
like,
to a bench rider for an 0-10 team, so
oh,
it's yeah,
shit.
it feels rough, bro.
Yeah. I've been on some bad teams too. But yeah, I mean, and that's like the thing, like, I don't know, I never thought, bigger than that. Because if you think about it, I could just go on to college and then, move to receiver. Or it turns out I like playing safety better. You know what I mean? Like,
But that's the thing.
um,
It's the moment now as a kid. It's fine. I mean, certainly if you learn it sooner, learn mental flexibility sooner than you do as a kid,
yeah,
you're gonna do great. Or at the very least, you're gonna start accepting life in a much more positive outlook. But yeah, I mean, dude, I've seen so many people just continue to have that mentality and just continue to fall because they refuse to accept that their initial plan didn't work, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean the plan failed. It just means
Yeah.
it just means it needs to be tweaked. It needs to be fixed a
Yeah.
little bit. It's always that thing.
Yeah.
Like the people are looking at that with the San Francisco housing market. Literally, my favorite thing. All right, we're going to talk about failure as a moment because right now people are leaving California because California is looking like a shit show overall, and I'm hearing people worrying about their housing prices and go like, well, it's just like, what are we going to do? What's the plan? And then you see the 100 Thieves, Chris Haig, Neistat going like, perfect time to buy properties. It's going like, yes, that's exactly it. It's like you see the failure and go like, there's an opportunity there. There's a way to fix it. You build the properties, you build upon the properties, and then you make a new environment for San Francisco or LA or wherever else people are leaving from. But yeah, mental flexibility is a huge deal, and I'm glad you're doing that, dude. I'm glad you didn't look at shutting down the company as therefore I am nothing or therefore I am bottom down.
No, definitely not. I mean, I think there was a moment where I did like definitely like feel that way, and I was just like I was very stressed out, very anxious because I got to a point where I was working 7 days a week,
Right.
and it's hard to put your head in a good place when you're working 7 days a week. I do not recommend it.
Take it from a guy who's been working 7 days a week for no profit. Like it's not fun.
You gotta stop it, man. Give yourself one day.
But I'm having fun. That's the thing. I'm having fun doing
I guess if you're having fun, it must be.
It's all for fun, guys. Yay! I mean, I have blacks under my eyes, and I have little social life, but it's fun. No, but it really is like, even though I'm getting into production because I love it. I really do. And so right now I'm not making a profit, but I know I'm going to. So that's the thing.
No, that's good.
But yeah, so going back to it, so your partner left for a full-time job opportunity after you were looking for options to keep the company going. Did you look into any other options after that, or what was the kind of final nail in the coffin to say I need to move on?
Well, I think it's so when Gary found the job, that was a big blow because I was in the middle of like I'm in the middle of fundraising. Like I got a meeting here, a meeting there, a follow up there. I found a good pace to reach out to investors and this and that. And so it's just like, oh, fuck, like I'm selling this company with like this founding team and the thing. And he was basically like, even if we get funding, like he's not coming on. And so like, so I was already, trying to climb up this super steep hill, and now like this hill just got steeper. So it made things hard, but I was in full momentum. So like I kept kind of like fundraising, and like I said, like I found the other engineer, but I think it's once like by that time I started to pick up a little bit of coding, and so I learned how to do like JavaScript and React Native.
Right.
And so I remember sitting down with this new engineer, and we were starting to trying to figure out trying to rebuild this app. And as we were like working together, we had like a working session, and I just knew like, oh shit, like this is just like it's not gonna work. Like it's just not like the speed. If we were to get some money tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to move at the speed that we need to be able to move. And so like one of the things I did look at, talking about having a flexible mindset, is I looked into pivoting the business. So instead of doing matchmaking for gamers, we thought about like basically like taking that matchmaking like system and then using it and as like a way to license it for other things. So like if a company wanted to match new employees with people that are longer tenured at that company to try to increase new employee retention, or like if like personal trainers needed to like find new people, new clients, they could use that. And so we kind of played around with a bunch of ideas. But at the end of the day, man, I was running out of money. Like it was like I need to like put some money in my bank account or I'm going to be out on the streets in like a month or two. You know what I mean? And so like I'm always on top of budgeting, and so like I can do the math real quick. And when it's like, all right, like it's going to take me X amount of time to find a job, I have X amount of money left, like I got to move on.
That's when you have a moment of, man, ramen noodles do sound delicious right now, especially those chicken ones. Like, dude,
Yeah,
I will
man.
say those chicken ramen. I don't eat those anymore, but those were the bomb. Like the chicken ramen was the best overall, especially if you grab the sauce and then you grab like some of the old. There was an old packet of like chicken slices you grab. So
Have you ever made a what's called spread, where it's like you take chips, you take ramen. If you're fancy, you'll add like beef jerky, like Slim
if
Jims.
you're fancy, yeah. Typically,
Yeah.
no. You know what I did. You know what I did for meat was cut up hot dogs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Now
add a little
that's real.
beef.
That's fancier than Slim Jims. Slim,
Yeah,
the
man.
7-Eleven
I'm
hot
sorry,
dog,
man.
right?
I gotta go Oscar Mayer all the way. It's like I gotta go. But typically, I would until once I started getting back into athletics in the gym, I started doing grilled chicken strips. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
along
yeah.
with that, just really stick
I
with
mean,
the
that's
chicken
I
taste.
think the healthiest of like the cheat meals really is just
Yeah, the
like
the healthiest, quote
chicken.
unquote.
Right. It's like rice, chicken, beans, broccoli. You know what I mean? That's like a base. Like, you won't starve. You might get really tired of it really fast, but yeah, that's a good cheat meal.
So after all this happened, did you what happened with yours and your stepmom's relationship after the financial fallout?
Yeah, so from July on, so this is what's weird. So I was driving, so all right, so it was either June or July is the last time where I was like, where I had that conversation. I was like, can you do this or not? She was like, I can do this. I have the money in 2 weeks.
Mm.
And then I stopped responding to her. So while that was going on, I was still driving a car that was technically hers. Like I was driving, this car that for a while like it was under her name, under her lease, and so instead of switching the lease over to my name, like I would just pay her every month so she could just pay it off.
Right.
But so I was driving her car. Once all that happened, I stopped paying her. But then the lease was coming to an end in like I think it was like November or something like that, or December. And so like I had to like talk to her because it was like, what do you want me
Right.
to do with this car? You know what I mean? And so like that's when like I kind of like talked to her, and she basically told me go to this dealership and drop it off, and then there's will be a new car for you to pick up like the next day or something like that. So it's like, okay,
Okay.
weird,
Yeah,
like we
that is
haven't
weird.
right, we haven't talked for a while, but all right, you're putting me in a brand new BMW, so okay, like I mean, it doesn't solve anything, but like
My
this is
my
weird. And
immediate suspicion is where's the poisonous snake? Like where is it hiding?
yeah, right, yeah, and so yeah, I mean, so there's some of that, but at the end of the day, it was I think it was like January, and so we actually had to sit down. She basically told me like I just moved to Emeryville, like we should talk, blah blah, and I was like, yeah, damn right, we should talk, and so
Fire.
so I went to her house, and basically, she explained to me, and these are her words, that there was too much going on in her life at the time, and that she had to cut off all the faucets. And so, like, she told me while this was going on, basically her uncle who
Hold
had
on.
diabetes.
Describe. So cut off all the faucets means like cutting connections, or
No, so basically, like, she meant the money faucets.
oh, okay,
Um,
like they're actually
yeah,
providing money, providing funds.
yeah, because so she was saying that her great uncle passed away, and then he had like some legal fees that he never had to take care of, so she was responsible for that. Um, and some other stuff. I don't know, man. It was just like you cut up. She apologized. She said she was sorry, but it just doesn't like it's not. It doesn't, it doesn't explain anything because if you're saying cut off the faucet, you're literally cutting off my life. You know what I mean?
But
And
even worse than
so
that,
like
like why I get the reasoning of taking care of that, but as an investor, the whole point is communication. Like you're jumping into a startup, like why not mention this, mention the worry ahead of time instead of
Yeah.
pulling some like Wells Fargo's wire bullshit.
Right.
I know I'm gossiping on that end, but it's just it's a thing where I always get on people, even whether you're an investor or an investee. Like, if you have problems, let them know. Like, don't sugarcoat the whole thing and act like it's someone else's fault.
Yeah. Right. That which is like kind of what I asked. And so I asked her,
Literally, you were
you
going
know,
with it.
I asked her, did the Wells Fargo thing, was it true? Did the Wells Fargo wire really get lost? She said, yes, it did. And the other thing I asked her is, like I asked her if she had this Porsche because so like just to backtrack a little bit, I think a year before all of this, so I'm really into cars,
Yeah, yes, you are.
and so and
Go check out Powaup. He is. He's got some. He's
plug the YouTube.
Actually, I probably should add in
Um,
your tag. Keep talking. I'm gonna add in your tag for people.
all good. But yeah, so she told me she had this Porsche 911, right? And then so this was about a year, and so like I helped her build it out. She told me about this dealer and this and that, and so basically she told me she had this Porsche 911 for about a year, and I never got to see it. Like a year. This is my stepmom. She lives down in LA, but every time I went down to LA, she told me she was leaving it at her friend's house because it hurts her back when she drives it for long road trips.
Right.
And it just seemed just so off to me because if you buy $120,000 car, you just don't do that. And if you know your son is super into cars, you're gonna pull up the car so he can like take a look at it and take pictures. Like I drool over cars, right? And so like I asked her, I was like, "Did you ever get the 911?" And she said, "Yeah." She said she got it. And at the end of the day, basically what I'm trying to say is, so my stepmom and my dad were divorcing.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the reality is it just comes out like she was doing all these things to keep my dad around and to keep me around. And that's just that's the hard reality. And what's probably too hard for her to explain, and maybe something that she wanted to take longer to explain. But it's the reality, and I just so happen my co-founder, my employees, even like my attorney, my CPA, they all just happen to get caught in a crossfire. Because I mean, even like if you think about the attorney
That
and the
sucks. Yeah.
CPA, like they're on, they get paid, but they didn't come in just for this 10 grand. They were like, yeah, this startup is gonna go all the way
No,
up. They're
these are about to
probably
be powerful clients. We're about to build a rapport.
exactly,
We're about to go on golf
exactly.
trips and
Right.
like.
Exactly. Exactly. And so yeah, I mean that's kind of how the meeting went. It's really hard to process all this, I would say. Like when
Mhm.
somebody just tells you that over the course of like a couple of hours, it's like, what do you do? I'm not the type of person to like hate somebody.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
I've
mean, I
never
still
known you to have capabilities of hating someone.
yeah, I wouldn't say that that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. Family is always a weird subject when it comes to business.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a piece of advice you'd want to give to people, especially let's say someone ends up in the same situation as you, and first of all, Claudio is giving you praise for being honest about the story, which it is. Like people, yeah, it's thank you, Claudio. We well, let me. I say we. He, I'm sure, appreciates that. This is not my story to tell. I keep
Thanks,
stealing it.
Chatter. Thanks, Claudio.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
What and let's say someone ends up in the same situation as you, which they will.
Yeah.
Family is a pretty
Yeah.
easy business connection. What is a piece of advice you would give for people to kind of be aware of to make sure the partnership at least is kept professional?
Yeah. Um,
Oh no, no! Don't worry, we'll get him back on. We'll get him back on. He'll be back on in a moment. Oh my god, Discord. Why? Why you do this to me, bro? Oh my god, right when he's coming up with the piece of advice. That is so
you
sad.
see me?
Yeah, I see you. God. Dude, I swear I'm changing video providers, man. All right. Okay, we're getting back into this. You won't be able to see me, but I'll be able to
All
see
right.
you, so that's all that matters.
One piece of advice. This is
Oh,
like a
right,
TV
right when you were
show.
giving the advice. That's the thing. Right when you
Yeah,
were giving the advice. So,
you missed
okay,
it. Sorry.
yeah. So please repeat what you were saying.
No, yeah, I would say definitely think I would say to think about it like two ways. I would say first to have very clear expectations of your family. So I had two people. I had my stepmom and my uncle. So my stepmom and my uncle first invested. I want to say they invested like 25,000 together, so 12,500 each. And that was like the first like friends and family round to just get us started to enable us to hire the development company. So that went well. Then my uncle, while we were going through this whole chaos, like he pitched in 20 grand. I think he like damn near just felt sorry for me. But it definitely like helped us and kept me from like actually filing for bankruptcy in the summer of 2019. But I would say when you're dealing with those small amounts of money, relatively small amounts of money, I think it's easier to keep things civil because if you were to get more than, say, 100 grand, then that opportunity cost for your family is much higher. With 100 grand, somebody can go out and buy a real house. You know what I mean? Whereas if you keep it below that, it's still a lot of money, but at least you don't want to put them in a position where if your company does fail, then everything is just like they lost out on a lot of opportunity. I would also say because I had to have this conversation with them when I put together the contract. I would say to go with a what is it called? Is it called a smart contract? It's like the Y Combinator is famous for inventing this contract
I'm
type.
familiar with what you're saying, yeah, but essentially it's almost like the insinuation of a prenup, how a prenup is in marriage. If it,
Yeah, it's like there's no real valuation. It's basically it's in between like a convertible note and a valuation round is
mm,
how it works. But I think it's a flexible kind of contract, which is like fair on all parties because you're not indebted to anyone. But at the same time, it basically says that like, hey, right now you just have this thing, but once we get our new round of funding, then we'll really get going. And I think that's an easy way to kind of set things up. You don't need to involve any lawyers or anything like that.
right.
But I think it's also important because you have to sell this dream and your friends and family around. And I mean, pretty much anywhere until you get to like a Series B stage, you're literally selling a dream. And what really helped me have that conversation is to say like, look, you're putting in 12,000 because I'm selling you shares of this company at 2 penny a share. But once we get a new next round of funding, then each share is going to be worth 25 cents. And so when we go to the next round of funding, then each share is going to be worth $1. So you might have to give me a couple rounds, but eventually this money will turn into millions of dollars if we can do this right. And that's really like the dream where you kind of let them know like, hey, like I'm not screwing around. I'm trying to make something big out of this. And so like, yeah, you got to take in some of this risk with me, but at the same time, you can get a lot of this too. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important to like set this up with your family at least.
If you could go back to yourself, especially to around the moment when your stepmom was going to look into investing with you, and you could go back and talk to your past self, besides saying don't do it. I mean, is there a piece of advice you would tell? Yeah, I mean that's the obvious one.
Yeah.
But also, what would be the thing to say to yourself back in 2019? Maybe you could even probably warn them about COVID and say invest in Amazon at this point. Like,
Give myself the lottery combination numbers. That'll be
oh
a good
god, if
one.
you told them to invest in Tesla, like you don't have to even
Right.
worry about having a business at that point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's a good question. There will be a couple things. One, I would say just start really learning how to code, even if it's an hour a week. Like really, just start putting in the effort into it because that's something that investors look at. So they look at like how far you're willing to go to make your shit work. Like if you're really willing to break your back, then you will learn how to become, a good enough engineer, I would say. I don't even want to say engineer, but you'll be good enough to put together a shitty product that somebody else can
You
then.
will know what your product does. Like that's the
Exactly.
thing is that's a huge misstep in a lot of people is they come up with the idea but have no idea how it works.
Exactly. Exactly. And I thought I knew, like, yeah,
Yeah, are you kidding me? It's an app. Like you press the little buttons, you do the little doodly doodles, you get a little ping, and congratulations, you have a match.
yeah, like, I know Excel, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh my god, I cannot.
like I mean, like I knew what a database was. You know what I
First,
mean? And
yeah.
I was like,
First of all,
like,
I do want to preface this. If you are applying for an IT or an engineering job, do not say you're proficient in Excel or any Word product. We do not care about that. We do not care
yes.
about that. Dude, if you're applying for an engineering job, you better know Excel. Like,
At this point, like, if you're out of college for like 5 years, you might as well just drop Excel off the resume, bro.
yeah. Oh my god!
Like,
I cannot tell you how many times I see that on resumes where someone's applying for a C++ programmer or a some type of engineering program and says proficient in, shows no language but shows Microsoft Office certification. Congratulations, you know how to make a PowerPoint. Like, like, oh my god. Don't do that. Don't do that, guys. Don't put it on. Like, if you do not need to show that as a thing. Unless you have nothing, you do not need to show that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, unless you're doing crazy stuff in Excel, which you can do. You could do some crazy stuff with Excel. But no, it's I would say to stay off Excel. But I mean, to answer your question, I would just say that, I would tell myself, I would tell myself to save up some money. Like quitting your day job is going to feel better than you think. So save up some money so you can run, have 6 months of savings and you can really hit the ground running, learn how to program. I would probably do this. I would be serious, take like the Udemy course that I took or whatnot, and then save up money at the same time. And once I'm done with those things, I would probably just quit my job and just like bang my head against the wall until I could figure this thing out. And as soon as I could get some early traction, then I would go start to fundraise. But if I could show that, the biggest thing really for investors was like retention. Like if your retention rate, like even if you have like fucking like only 100 users, if they're coming back every day into your app, that's a huge
profit.
thing.
Yeah, that's a profit.
I thought customer acquisition was going to be a big thing. They don't even care about that.
No.
Like usage is important, but like retention, if people put your app down and then come back to it, it means a lot. And so I would try to optimize for that.
That doesn't mean, I will say this, I will preface this, that doesn't mean make an addictive app. There are some fine lines, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen people, because you've been to business expos, if I'm like a few, right? So you've been there out there where the professionals go out and tell you how to build an effective business. I went to one in Washington, and literally this one guy who does app development, he has an app development agency.
Yeah.
Where literally they'll build an app idea and then sell it to someone. And his whole thing was build an addictive app. And I was like, no, don't do that. Like, so you're creating health problems. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's like build an enjoyable app that people love to play. And if addiction comes into it, then it means that there's more of an underlying issue that needs to be focused on. Don't build something just to like for pings and shit. Like, build it because it's enjoyable. There's a difference between enjoyable and addictive, health-wise. Yeah,
for sure, right? For sure.
I've seen that so many times. That guy definitely pissed me off. I wanted to pull. Oh God, I wanted to be the guy who raised his hand saying like, "Wrong, that's wrong." About to like take the mic from his hand. Jesus Christ. But I'm
Yeah.
sorry I interrupted. But it's
So
yeah,
I mean, I just couldn't do it. Like it's
yeah,
just I'd want to make an app that can help people. Like
right.
you know, you want to solve a problem, right? And so like if you're getting people addicted by solving a problem, then like I don't know. It doesn't really fit into like kind of like what I'd want to do. You know what I mean? Um, and so like I couldn't do that. But you know, like hey, casinos make a lot of money, and for some
Yeah,
people, it's kind of like their gateway, right? So so good for them. But
I think there was that was the mentality for a lot of those pay to play or pay to win. Oh God, pay to win uh, games.
yeah,
Jesus Christ, where they brought in the mentality of casinos. But the difference is like casinos are
yeah,
meant to be strictly about luck. Like
right,
there's a
right.
gambling addiction to it, but that's a small percentage in
I mean, I feel like
comparison.
FIFA, like EA, is
Oh,
getting taken to court like every other week for this, right?
oh yeah, EA's always brought up in news about something like related to
Yeah,
this, especially where they bring. My favorite part about it isn't just the pay to play business strategy behind it, but it's because they'll pull an IP like oh god, what am I'm it's not Warhammer. Um, I'm blanking on it.
like Avengers, right?
Or yeah, like
Is
they
it,
pay, or Avengers. Yeah, dear God, like Avengers was a pay to it has like pay to play features because they have this short story and then it's all about the multiplayer and getting these skins and everything. Uh, and
yeah.
and it's like it's a failed system because you're bringing in an IP that is already making profit and you're finding ways to use it to make more of a profit. If you just made
I
a
think
if you just made a
what's
good
worse to me is
game,
that you know it's like it's a lot of kids. Kids are playing this,
oh yeah,
and as a kid, you know what I mean. You're developing habits, and those aren't the habits that you should really be developing. At a
finding
young
mommy's
age,
credit card and memorizing
right?
the number.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder how many kids now have memorized their parents' credit card numbers because I remember that was a very popular girl thing to do. Like the popular
Oh,
girl in
really?
the popular girl no joke the popular cheerleader in my school memorized her dad's credit card like the whole thing. That was but now it almost seems I wonder how many kids now have picked up that strategy to buy stuff off of games.
Yeah,
I feel like there's got to be a metric for that. There's got to be.
I know, right? I'm sure there's, and then like, I mean, you can note it, right? You can make a note of it in your phone and then like get to it later. But yeah, I'd be pissed if I was a parent and I found out my kid had a fucking,
Or if
imagine your kid has like an addiction to loot boxes
well
and
the
FIFA.
oh you know what the thing is most kids can't get away with it nowadays though because the strat I didn't do this strat I okay this literally was a friend of mine that did the strategy. I'm not making this up. This was not me. I did not do this. But
Right.
the my friend had a strategy where he would get the credit card bill when it was mailed and then retype it. Yeah,
No.
like he found a way
Yeah.
to copy it extremely to the letter. So anything he bought off of cable or whatever, his dad would never see it.
Damn. That's cool.
He still ended up getting caught because his dad can do math, but it's like,
Yeah.
but
Right.
still like that kids can't do that nowadays because parents can look at their money history.
So easily, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like literally, just you face scan, and then like, I mean, I get notifications like on my phone.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I pay off my statement like once a week, so
Yeah.
I would catch that shit so fast.
Yeah. Pay off your credit cards, kids. If you want to end up in the 750s and higher, pay off your credit cards.
Yes.
This is gonna be like a money and business talk the entire time. At some point, we will talk video games, but it's I always because
Yeah.
I grew up in a financial family. You know,
That's good.
my dad's in banking, my mom's in accounting, and literally the way I always describe it is we every Monday my dad would read my sister and I at the age of 12 and 10. Keep that in mind. He would read us the Kiplinger letter, which is a letter which is a newsletter that talks about upcoming business changes and stocks and changes to oil prices and GDP in certain countries.
Oh damn.
and we're 12 and 10. Like we're we're kids, and he's reading this to us, hoping for us to like
Oh, hoping you guys to catch on.
ingrain into this. And I'm like, I fall asleep on my lima beans with ease. Like,
That you were destined for banking.
no, God, no. No, 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 no. No, it's not happening. Sorry. I've done that. I've been there, done that.
No,
It's not happening. I will say it causes me now because I have people who are now buying houses, and I look at and I say, hey, let me take a look at your finances. We can see some way to make sure we're optimizing this to their best. And I find out they put all their money into the down payment.
when you say like 90% of people are like that, putting like most of their money in down payment, I feel like a lot of like you're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. No.
But most of the people I talk to, it just seems like, at least in the Bay Area, right, since it's so expensive.
There are some cases where if you're making a ton of money or you have a guaranteed contract, do it. Or something like that. Like you just have a guarantee of money flow. But if you don't, man, it's like, why? Just say wait, like
a couple more months.
wait 4 more months. That's all you got to do. Wait 4 more months. You have a steady income stream, and bam, you got it. You got a home.
Yeah.
You got a regular. This is now the financial part of the show where you listen to me talk about finances.
It's funny because see, you were born in a household where there was like your parents were financially literate, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas me, it was the opposite. So like my dad has this like never. My dad is like, I'm an artist. I'm not meant to be good with money, which is like, okay, whatever. Okay, boomer.
It's like I would say bullshit, but okay.
Right, exactly. But then and my mom. So my mom, not my stepmom. My mom made a lot of money. So my mom used to be a model for like Yves Saint Laurent back in the 90s. And in the 80s, and she like modeled for a couple different brands. But she made a lot of money. Like I know because like there was a point where she was making like I would say like $300,000 a year or something more like that, adjusted for inflation. But she has nothing now. She lost everything. Just because she just never, she was born in West Africa in Togo, and she never really knew how to deal with math. And she also had some bad vices, and so like I look, and I think it's one of those things where like as a kid you try to correct the wrongs of your parents.
Right.
Like I love my parents, but it's just like, all right, like let me see what you did wrong. Like, all right, let's make sure we don't do that again. And so I try to stay on top of it. So like I have like a sheet, like an Excel sheet, hey, check out my resume.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I have,
still not gonna hire you, but okay.
But yeah, so I have like I have a sheet and I budget everything like down to the fucking week because like I always need to know how much money I have at one point in time, and then kind of like what's my saving strategy, like what am I gonna get to like if I need to buy something. Like I knew like I bought a PS5 this month, like I was planning on that like back in April, you know what I mean? And then like Christmas is coming up and I've been thinking about Christmas for like a while already. Just so I can like stay ahead of the curve, you know what I mean? I feel like that it just helps a lot.
Yeah, I've always seen that because it's like I was one who kind of moved away, kind of stayed away from that so much just because it was kept getting drilled in my brain.
I can see that.
So repeatedly. It's probably what got me into entertainment more and more is because literally I'm learning this already from my dad. I'd like to learn other things like technology and entertainment. Yeah. But yeah, like it's finances. I mean, people always talk about your mom making $300,000 a year. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. But on the same case, it can go away very quickly. People always talk about like I don't know what I would do with $1 million. Let's highball that. Let's say I wouldn't know what to do with $100 million. As a whole, is like I would. It's like I'd buy all my friends' homes, and I could buy all my friends' homes and cars, and put in money to volunteer to certain nonprofits and research and I'd go to the strip clubs for every day for the rest of my life. Like it's not that I go to strip clubs. Dad, when you see this ahead of time, you know I don't go to strip clubs. First of all, like right when I said that, I knew my dad was going to watch this with the light, and I forgot he watches these. I forgot for a second that he watches these. But yeah, it's a very easy thing to get rid of money. People act like a lot of money is very hard to get rid of, but no, it's very easy to get rid of money. It's very easy to be a billionaire and still go into debt.
Right. I mean, making the wrong investments. I would say that's like the big thing. Or, like, the moment you know anything about stocks, I would say that when you see people selling when it gets low, like when things like dip, when things take a dip, like I remember seeing like Kanye West sell his house like at the bottom of like the '08 crisis. And I was like, damn, like why would you do that? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like like that's bad decision making, and you could lose a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but yeah, it can go fast. That's like about Antonio Cromartie, the player he used to play for the Jets or something like that.
Oh God.
And he has I think he has like 12 kids from like
Right.
7 different.
Yeah.
And then they gave him a contract for like $6 million a year, and he was like, "Sorry, I can't feed all my family with that. My family's." So he needed more, but
well, yeah. That's another thing is, oh my God, my favorite phrase of all time when I was working finance was to keep our standard way of living. Standard way of living was a phrase I heard repeatedly, where it says like, "Ma'am, you live in a $3 million mansion with 4 kids when you can easily buy like a 3-bedroom house and have a decent life, but you're talking about your standard way of living. Like, what standard way of living? None of your current living is standard. Like,
yeah,
it's not just. All right, it's
get used to that lifestyle.
yeah, man. I guess like I don't know. It's once again going back to that mental flexibility thing where
That's true,
if something was lost, like if you have 12 cars and you find out you have to lose 10 of them, you still have 2 cars. Not to mention there are probably some if you have 12 cars, you probably have some 12 badass cars, which means you still have 2 badass cars. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's funny because that takes me back to like the startup stuff. And so when I like first got going, so I had an M4, BMW M4, which is basically it's a nice car.
It's a nice car, yeah.
It's like a $70,000 car. And my thing was like, man, like, I hope I don't have to sell this car to keep the business going. Eventually, I did sell the car to keep the business going.
Oh, no.
Even before we got through hard times, that was just like me moving to San Francisco and just deciding, you know what, instead of having, this high car note and stuff, I'd rather reinvest more money into the business and live closer to the city where things are happening. And so like ended up making it. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's not that bad. You're not hurting or anything. And then it's like same thing with, like the 2 Series, the other BMW, like I lost that. And then that's like, you're like, oh, well, I hope I don't have to like quit my job and, go into, this other thing. But, I guess the recurring theme is just getting out of your comfort zone, really. And it's not easy, but once you're out of it, you're learning something new, you get a lot out of it. At least that's how I kind of take things.
Yeah, I think it is all perspective. But there is certain types of unhealthy perspective that, I mean, they don't just affect the person who is having the first person moment, but it affects everyone else as well, because it's essentially saying that if you see someone successful or rich, let's just say rich, falter to the point that they're trying to find ways to keep their standard way of living. Well, then people who are living regular lives, regular but very successful and healthy lives, are going to look at it and say, well, this person thinks I'm not living a good life because they won't live my life. Like I said, it's always based on these perspectives, and some of them, like, even every little action like this affects everybody in one way, shape, or form, and it causes a cascade effect that I think a lot of people either don't consider or worse don't care about.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I agree.
It's weird, man. It's business and finance. I love it. It's one of those things that that plus politics are things that I admit that I hate that I love. I love them. I love them a lot. I will admit this to the day I die. I love messing with this stuff, but it's a thing where it's a very boring conversation unless you say it with a very squeaky voice. So that's why sometimes I'll get out the Mickey Mouse impersonation to talk new REI funds.
Please don't. Please.
No, I lost a lot of clients that way. But it's a thing. It's also just because it was very important. Politics and finance are very important here, and I think that's what makes me so invested in them. Is yes, they are very boring, but they're things that got to get done. And I think there's some things that I see that you considered, especially despite the fact that you had to shut down your business. And once again, thank you for telling that story to the people. It's a very rare but very relatable story. So the fact that you got to come out and say it, it's a big thing.
I mean, I just hope it eventually helps someone out there. When I was going through this, it was just like, fuck, like, what do I do? There's no books. There's no like thing you can read. And then it's like, oh, if this happens, then you do this, and this. It's literally like, it was just like, what do I do? How do I treat this? How do I feel about the situation? Like no idea how to react to any of this.
Did you read any of those guide to success books, or those ones where it's like, building your mental state, or building like the ones that didn't give you step by step like how to build a business, but were like go and follow your dreams type?
I would say biography. I would look at biographies like that. I kind of like reading biographies. And so I would say that Steve Jobs' biography was very inspiring.
Good.
I would say that Elon Musk.
Yeah,
it is. It's a very good one. Elon Musk is really interesting too. There's this podcast called How I Built This. I thought that was very inspiring. But I never one book that I really did enjoy a lot, and shout out to my boy Derek for putting me onto this. And he bought this book for me when I was going through all this shit. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll try to like pull it up. And it was a book about like failing, basically. About like, it's a book meant for like somebody that's shutting down a business and you're stressed the fuck out. And it talks about, like how to deal with the process, and that it's like, just keep things going. That it's not like the end, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that was like very valuable because, man, those were rough times for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, especially in big crossroad decisions, this isn't just a business thing, but this is just a life thing where failing comes in many shapes and forms, and a lot of people don't know how to react. They just don't.
There used to be this conference called FailCon, and I was like, they stopped doing it. Oh my God,
that's a thing? That was a thing?
Yeah, but that would have been like the conference. You know what I mean? Like
I would have been the king of that conference.
Right, like I want to go there. Like you learn more from failures than like success. You know what I mean?
There's very much a truth to that. Did you? But you didn't read any of those books. Like, you didn't read any of the ones where it's like self-help or self-inspiration or anything like that.
I would say that I'm pretty much like I'm pretty much driven, like kind of on my own. Mm-hmm. And I've always just been the one to build things. Like I've just always like, whether it's like putting together like books or like collages of pictures that I like when I was a kid, or building Legos, building models. I was big into Warhammer, so I would love to like build up my armies and stuff.
And so like we weren't friends when we were kids. Like those are pretty much all the things I did.
Yeah, right. And like so I've done a lot, yeah, a lot of nerdy building shit. And so like when I came up with this idea, I always knew I wanted to like be a business person. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
I just see people like businessmen like in movies, and I was like, dang, like they look cool. I want to be confident. I want to be that person. And so like it was just like the idea. Like I had like some ideas before, but none of them were like really like solving a problem. Whereas like this, it was like I had that light bulb moment. And so like when I kind of had it, and I went through a couple people, and I even like I remember I went to my most pessimistic friend, and I was like, "Yo, like, what do you think of this?" And he was like, "Oh, actually, that might work." And when he said that, I was like, "Oh shit!" I just took off running. And so yeah, so I didn't need any like external motivation or anything like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you're not really, unless it's through mentorship, I don't see many people building success from reading self help books.
Yeah, I like for example like Gary Vee, right? A lot of people get like super inspired by him, and like whereas like me, like it's like the complete opposite. I'm trying to like figure out like this person like what like it does nothing for me, but it works for some people, so good for them.
It works for a lot of people. I think, well, have you seen any of the others outside of Gary Vee? Because Gary Vee is like an idealistic, he's like a good version of that. But have you seen some of the others?
I don't know per se. I think it's people that are like doing it indirectly. So like Casey Neistat, I get more inspired by Casey Neistat
True point. Yeah.
than like Gary Vee, for example. You know what I mean?
Well, those are two individuals that succeeded in their own endeavors. So obviously for Gary Vee was wine, and
Yeah,
for Casey Neistat was production. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
did
yeah.
amazing productions, and he partnered with amazing people. Did he ever get that? He ended up with partnering with CNN, didn't he?
So CNN ended up buying his company, but I don't know that they didn't say if it was like a good buyout or anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything
Um,
about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big thing because his media company kind of just I think it's still going. But yeah, CNN ended up buying them out, but I don't think it was like a big like like they made a huge amount of profit off of it or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's just his work ethic. Like just seeing him upload a video like
Mm-hmm.
every day, man.
Right.
Like you know how hard it is, right?
Yeah.
And putting out like quality content, being able to tell stories.
Also, just
I
being
think like
away, the fact that he would spend weeks, sometimes even months away from his wife and kid. Like he'd
yeah,
have to be
yeah,
away from them. That's a
right,
that's a
yeah,
big that's a big step. That's a big move.
hmm yeah. So yeah, so I would say I get inspired by people like that.
Yeah, those are people that are easy to find inspiration from because they've made success. They didn't just talk about success; they made it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people who talk big, and yeah, they probably did find some forms of success, but it was through not through means of working with your hands, or
Mm,
in a matter of figurative speaking.
yeah,
So yeah, I those people sometimes get me my blood boiling a little bit, where it's just like
yeah,
they talk about success too much.
right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I would also say that so my mentor really kind of through this whole thing has been his name is Vikram, and so he
Right.
was like the first employee at Firebase. Um, and so he like I met him like through cars, and he kind of helped me throughout the process because a lot of times I was like, oh, like I was trying to do all the cute stuff, right? All the fun stuff that comes with building an app, like like creating the ads and the like the figuring out the KPIs and this and that. And he was like, no, like you need to just focus on building this. You need to get down and put your head down and go out there and talk to users, talk to gamers, figuring out their problem is, like figuring out, how your app is even solving their problem.
Hmm.
And, like he put a fire like under me and was like, damn, like, I always had this check with myself was like, am I willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, if you don't know
And
your audience, then you're not really selling anything.
right, exactly. And I'm not gonna, like if I'm not gonna do like a specific thing, like what is my excuse for not doing it? And I can't just like not go up to strangers because I'm scared of talking to them. At the end of the day, that's not a valid excuse. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would say people like that have definitely helped me a lot along the way. Definitely learned a lot from them.
What's been kind of your mentality with the I want to finish kind of with the serious conversations, and at some point I would like to talk gaming and stuff with you. But
For
I would
sure.
like, I think especially right now for entrepreneurs, business owners, job seekers, insert any possible way to make money here, they're struggling because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
or they're suffering in some way, shape, or form. What has been your mentality going into this, and what do you think is a process people can try to succeed through this pandemic we are suffering?
So you mean like what has been my mentality just like outside of work and stuff?
Uh, just in general, just to make sure you're still following your dreams and pursuing success. Uh, yeah, I'd probably say more focus on the mentality of work itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's been challenging for sure, especially early on. So I now work for a startup called Gem.
Mm-hmm.
We have a recruiting tool for sourcers, and it's we're basically a Series B stage company. And so I work in sales now, which is like completely different to anything I was doing before outside of really fundraising. I would say my experience fundraising has translated to sales pretty well. Um, but I think my kind of mentality is that like I'm trying to soak everything in.
Right.
Like see what is it really like to run a Series B company? Because like we're so open on Slack and this and that. I want to see like, what are some of the problems that we have to like overcome? What are some of the like the challenges that you still have to deal with when you're at this stage and try to face the next expectations? Because startups are kind of like what how would you call it? They're kind of like steps where like you
Right.
reach one step and now you have to fight gravity even harder to get to the next step. And so, it's like first, you make $1 million, then like, okay, well now you got to make $10 million, and then it's like, oh, you made $10 million. Well, now we're going to use you to make $100 million. And so I'm like kind of in the middle of this startup where we're going through like this like growth expansion. And so I'm trying to soak everything in, figure out what I think is working well, what I like, and also what I don't like. And if I were running my own company, um, I wouldn't want to do it because I definitely see myself starting another company, whether it be a startup or something else, either that or joining like really early on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm just going back to this learning mode. And I would say really with COVID, I mean, the biggest challenge really is that you just don't have those human connections. Like when I was, we were in the office and it wasn't for long. Like I would catch an Uber with our CEO, you know what I mean? And we would just like chop it up, right?
Right.
Whereas like now I'd only see my CEO whenever, he might like have 15 minutes on his calendar or, it's over all hands. And so it's hard to like really make those connections. But I think I would say what's been working for me at least is building a bond within my immediate team.
Mm-hmm.
Like we basically made like a group chat, even though we could still like connect through Slack. You don't fully open up on Slack because like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like
Slack
like
isn't really known for like, hey, did you see this new meme? Check it out. Like,
right? Like you wouldn't put nothing that's like not suited for work on Slack, and uh,
right.
but in general, like gossiping, you know what I mean? Like I think there's value in gossiping amongst there's a healthy dose of it, right? But having that healthy dose of like just gossiping and be able to like fuck like this week sucks, you know what I mean? Like I think that helps a lot. Another thing that we did is we have like a mentorship program. I mean, like a mentorship program in general. And so I'm paired with somebody that's been there longer, and just like once a week we'll chat for an hour. And it used to be a lot about work, but now it's more so about like we'll just chat about wherever. And so once a week for an hour, I'll have like this human connection with somebody else that's just like that's like casual, you know what I mean? And we'll talk about politics. We'll talk a lot about video games. And then we might talk about work a little bit, talk about like some strategies or like how we want to attack certain things. But I would say that's helped a lot for me. Another small thing I would say is taking like breaks here and there. So in the morning before I actually like get on the computer, I will go outside and I'll usually walk the dog or I
Right.
just walk by myself for 15 minutes. And then I'll get to work. And then at lunch, I'll do the same thing. And then after work, usually like as soon as I'm done with work, I just try to get as far away as possible from my desk and then repeat the next day.
Yeah, it's so easy to get into that mentality of I'm at home, so therefore I do not need to leave.
Yeah, dude, like we do more work working from home than in the office.
Yeah,
Like
I
in the office,
wholeheartedly refuse. Even though I have to have a desk at my place, I wholeheartedly refuse to work at home.
yeah.
It's just
Uh,
it's I already
And
do
what
enough.
makes
I
it
already
tough
do
about
enough work. I already
pandemic?
do enough work in my at my place. Then
Yeah.
I don't need to add stuff more on there.
I mean, we're lucky to have a desk, man. Imagine if you didn't have a desk, during COVID. Because the thing is, you can't go into a coffee shop right now, right? Like
Yeah.
before, that was a big thing. You go into a coffee shop and, uh, just work out of there. It
Have
doesn't
they?
happen now.
Well, they were going to start opening things back up, but now there's a implemented curfew in California now, right?
Not here. In my county, we're not under curfew. But I know I think SF and Santa Clara are in the purple, whereas in San Mateo we're in the red.
Right.
But I don't know how long the curfew is going to be implemented. But yeah, how do you feel? Because I'm curious because I know you're big into politics. So what's your take on the curfews and stuff like that?
Well, I get why they're doing it because California is one of the highest growing in cases as of late. Um,
Mm,
I do think they are handling it. The short term handle um, is not a great system. So with them uh, putting in the curfew and basically they're fighting off people who are not wearing masks or not keeping their distance or having large amount of crowds by basically enforcing law in a sense. Or well, enforcing a curfew isn't essentially enforcing law. They're more of just highly suggesting like, hey, do not go out at this time.
yeah, because you don't know
Uh,
how to
so
act.
I think the biggest problem right now is they're implementing the fact they're making this statewide, especially when the biggest problems are in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, or not even San Diego. San Diego seems to be doing fine despite being open.
Mm,
Um, they're making it a statewide, and instead of focusing on where the major problems are hitting, which is where ports and airports and cities typically exist, and they're not speaking frankly with those in charge there, particularly the mayors and representatives of those respective cities. I
yeah,
get what the Newsom office is doing, and the reason why I say the Newsom office is because it's not just Gavin Newsom. He's the guy
yeah,
now. He is enforcing it, but it's not just him.
right.
So it probably wasn't even his idea to do this. But the fact is, I think they're jumping. They're being so overly cautious that they came up with a short term plan that is not going to go over well with the people.
Mm,
Especially the people of California. Eventually, the people of California love Gavin Newsom, and he does have that presidential look, and he does have that presidential feel.
yeah,
And he is a good leader, but the way this type of handling of the emergency, especially when other counties are doing okay, I think is jumping a little. It's jumping a little too hard onto the lockdown side. I think if he spent more time in San Francisco and Los Angeles and probably even parts of Oakland and talked to those representatives, they could probably find a better strategy for urban areas while not implicating more rural areas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a lot of what sucks into politics. In general, I know that it's hard to have one rule for everybody, right? Like we have one president for like 50 very, very different states. And the same goes from, for California, rural areas are a lot different. Like you said, they're metropolitan areas. So it is difficult. But at the same time, you look at like in the UK, right? I believe they did they went back to like a full lockdown for a month or something like that, which must be like even worse, right? Because they're like, that's a full on lockdown. That's not even just curfews. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I just try to kind of do my part as best as I can.
Right.
But for the most part, I'm okay. Like I think like you said, I think Gavin Newsom is all right by me. A lot of the hate that I've seen towards Gavin Newsom has been. I haven't seen any like valid. Well, there's like like.
Well, the major reason. Do you know the major reason why stuff like that is brought on?
Why is that?
Is because he does the politician thing while dealing with the crisis. So a good example is during the fires. California fires were going pretty bad, and while Gavin did an amazing job, not just Gavin, but I'm not just going to put this on the governor himself, because every representative, especially even in Santa Rosa, the mayor and county representatives did an amazing job getting firefighters from outside of the state to come in to take care of these fires. But during that moment, there was a big controversial moment that while Gavin Newsom was out there talking plans, like there was a moment he was actually like talking with the firefighters, figuring out how they're going to keep the spread of the fires going. Great job, great moment. Like showing him actually talking. You'd hear him talking with the leaders of the firefighting program. Amazing moment. And then he decided to do a photo op of him sitting on a burnt bench reading a book. And it was like, it's nice. You don't need to do that. That's like when it's the same thing with when Schumer and Pelosi wore the African garb after the George Floyd shooting. While saying a prayer. It's like, great, you guys are saying a prayer. Fantastic. You don't need to wear the scarf.
Yeah,
you're two old white people. we know which side you're on. You don't need to wear the scarf. Like that's that's the.
It is, but like so stuff like that. Like I'm willing to let like that slide, right? Yeah. It's like okay, we get it. Like you're trying. It's kind of.
It definitely makes me grip.
We see what you're trying to do, but like okay, like it's not the worst thing. You're trying to, just like okay, like you could go ahead and do that, but now like you have some power and use your power for good. Because that's the stuff that really matters at the end of the day, right?
So the part that gets me is like it would have been great if he showed instead of doing the photo op of him reading on a bench, it just shows a video of him talking plans with those firefighters. He would have had those red counties on with easy. Like if it's him talking with the firefighters to make sure the fires are going out, like those red counties would become blue real quick. Like oh my god, it's just like the. Sometimes it's always those moments, especially I look like someone does something great. It's always that moment where you talk someone up, because I think that was around the moment I was talking up Gavin Newsom about his plan for dealing with the fires, because his office did an amazing job. And then the next day I see the photo op and it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like it's like me trying to hype up. It's like me trying to be a wingman, and then all of a sudden the guy I'm being wingman for farts in the girl's face. I'm just going like, dude, what are you doing? Don't do that. Like, come on, bro.
Gavin let you down. Gavin let you down.
Yeah, yeah, he let me down, and I thought we were bros, man. I thought we were
Yeah.
homies. Like,
It's always hard to like. You always some. There's always going to be like a fuck up with politicians. And so it's kind of like why we always end up picking like the least of the worst of options a lot of times. Um, but nah, I hear you, man.
yeah. All right, let's get away from politics, man. Let's talk gaming for a moment. This is a gaming related show, and we haven't talked games at all. Not to mention, first of all, did you get a PlayStation? You get a PlayStation 5?
I did. I wonder if I can.
You
Let me
son of
see
a
if I can
bitch! I don't want to talk to you anymore.
right
Yeah,
here.
god damn it! Look at that beautiful massive hunk. Are you gonna get the Xbox too?
No,
No.
no, no,
So
no.
so
I
PlayStation,
mean,
right?
so like, this is my thinking. So, what's the lifetime of a console? About 7 years, right? So we know
Essentially, yeah.
that now they found out that they could do like a mid-cycle refresh. So like if they do like an Xbox, is it Xbox One, Xbox Series X?
Xbox
If they do a
Series X
Pro,
or S. Yeah,
so the new one is a Series X.
yeah.
All right, so if they do a Series X Pro like 3 years from now, then I'll consider it. But for now, there aren't really any games that like it's all about games really. And if it's not about games,
Right.
then like this controller, this is the difference maker
Yeah,
of why the PS5 is really better than the Xbox, like hands down.
it's vastly superior. It's just a better. It's a better piece of hardware.
Yeah,
PlayStation has kind of done very well with the controller game. The reason why they lost the competition, or if you consider it a competition, because really they succeeded anyway. But the competition between the PS3 and the Xbox, that was the Xbox One,
the Xbox 360, I think.
360, correct? Thank you.
Yeah.
The reason why they lost that one is because of the software features that came into it. Essentially lost it. I keep saying lost, but really both companies still came off with a killing.
Yeah.
Um,
But the Xbox 360, I think the big thing for the Xbox 360 was the price. It was a lot cheaper than a PS3 as far as I remember.
well,
And like it did have the
I think you're
PS4
right there. Yeah, I believe you're right.
and yeah, and then because the PS4 had like the Blu-ray player and stuff like that, so it offered more. But the Xbox 3 and it had like the PS4 had like better hardware too. Um, but the 360 was just like I don't know. That's like it's what all my
Well,
friends played.
360 had so many more features. So they had their achievement line was great for trophy hunters. So if you were looking for achievements, you not to mention it was an uh, in console currency. So you could use your achievements to get like cool little skins or something. While the trophy system in PlayStation, you couldn't do anything except for have bragging rights.
Yeah, I remember the Avatar and stuff.
The communication system was a lot better, so the friend system was significantly better on the
Hmm.
Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And there were just better. There were actually better games coming out that time in the 360 compared to the PS3 because that was Killzone and that PS3 had Killzone and Uncharted,
Metal Gear.
Metal
Metal
Gear.
Gear was the big one for me.
Um, and Xbox, they had a new Halo game coming out. They had
Yeah,
they had Gears of War game coming out. So
that's right.
they were set on that end. Uh, it was a very strong console, but the fact is, software and IPs can only get you so far in the console games.
Yeah.
At this point now, I wouldn't be surprised if time will tell because it's still being sold rapidly. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch ends up getting the dub on this end.
You think so?
I wouldn't be surprised. It's following kind of in the same nature as the Wii,
Hmm.
and it's
I
not
mean, I
like
definitely think that the Switch is a successful console. But the experience, at least, so I have a Switch,
right.
and like I played Breath of the Wild, I played Animal Crossing for a little bit. I tried to play Diablo 3, couldn't get into it. But
Yeah,
it just
you probably just saved yourself a ton of time. Getting away from Diablo 3.
So I couldn't understand Diablo 3 because it was either too easy or too hard for me. Like I
Yeah.
would literally melt enemies, and then I was like, whenever I tried to turn off the difficulty, I would just get killed instantly, and
Oh
so
yeah.
I couldn't get into it, and I'm really upset about that because that's one of those games where like I've always wanted to play, and I thought it would be a really good Switch game,
It's a
but.
very strong game, but it's not. It has a very well, it has a large audience. It's still a very particular audience.
Mm. Yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the
Um,
same kind of mentality. It's basically like if you had a step down from World of Warcraft.
yeah, yeah, on different, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, World of Warcraft, I can see that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, back to your point about the Switch, like the Switch is doing fairly well, but like the experience, just like on the PS5, is just
yeah,
it's next level, man. Because the haptics on the PS5 actually feel kind of like the haptics on the Switch Joy Cons. If you ever play like 1-2 Switch, for example, where like you
right.
try to figure out how many balls you have in your hand, or like when the soda is gonna pop or whatever. But they put it on the PlayStation controller, and it just like it's a whole new level of immersion, really.
I'm just trying to downplay the PlayStation, so you just give up on yours and give it to me
All
at this point. So
right,
you know,
all right.
yeah. I
I
want.
see the strategy.
I really want to get it. I really, really do, especially because there's some amazing games coming out or already
Yeah.
out. Which games have you gotten so far?
So Spider-Man.
Of
Spider-Man is the
course,
only game I've gotten.
the remaster or the Miles Morales.
Miles
Yeah,
Morales. I just got the Miles Morales.
it's looking
So I
good,
got
man.
that.
It's looking solid.
It's really good. It's a really good game. I also played the Astros Playroom. I haven't finished it yet, but that's actually a real game. It's not just like some crappy demo. It's a real game. The people that put together, it was made with love. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just like oh, just put together a little cheap demo together. Like that's a legitimate game. And so yeah, definitely. Whenever you get a chance to play it, the thing is that
Dude,
you don't need the
I'm gonna
PS5
have
now.
no time. It's just I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid at this point because I'm working so hard to build a business and work a full time job, and then it's just like if I want it, I really want it. It's the same way I felt about It's the same way I felt about Kingdom Hearts, except there's a difference. When Kingdom Hearts came out, Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I was going like I know I'm gonna hate it, but I still want it. While the
Mm.
PlayStation is even worse because I want it and I know I'm gonna love it. Like it's
Yeah,
it's it's I just
yeah,
yeah it's the same for the Xbox. I want the Xbox One too. It's
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like time is the hardest thing. So that's the other thing. When I was working on Gamers Grid, I never had time to play video games, and so I
mm-hmm.
was literally building a gaming company, but I was unable to play games. So, like I tried like here and there to just like get back into it. Like like I'll play an hour here and there, but I can never like really delve into a game like I should have been
Well, that's
able
why I got to
to.
switch, dude. Because it's I can keep it as a handheld play. I've been playing Yes Your Grace, which is like a kingdom decision
Oh,
game. So you play a king and you basically like lead your armies and resources and your kingdom. And that's been a fun game. It's been a fun game overall. I've enjoyed it.
is it like a RTS or something?
Uh, yeah, I'd say so. It's just you're not really like commanding the army itself. You're just commanding the king,
Uh,
and that's it's I almost consider it like two steps up of what was it Kingdom. What was the phone game where you like flip cards? I can't remember. Rain. That's the one where you basically like flip cards to make decisions. But I've been playing
Interesting.
that. I still play with my PS Vita. But
Oh, nice,
I still play with like
nice,
Child of Light and the Jack and Daxter games, and still play Persona 4
nice.
Golden. I swear to God, I will never give up on that game. I will be a Persona fan, ride or die, just as
Have
much
you
as
played Persona 5?
yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that
So
game.
first of all, it's an amazing game. I'm gonna preface that. Preface that first, because it is from start to finish. It's one of those things that's like, uh, it if you are really into those types of games, you will enjoy it from start to finish. However, it
Mhm.
is almost 100 hours of gameplay for the first game, like the first time you play.
Mhm.
So if you aren't into those types of games, I would not recommend it. Because it is basically, it's like a high school simulator plus dungeon master, and I love it so much. And oh my god, it's just so fun. Clyde. Listen to me. I
I'm
love
listening.
Persona. I love those
I,
games.
I hear you.
It's probably a slightly less addiction than I have to Dynasty Warriors, which is like the exact opposite of mentality than Persona.
Yeah, sounds very, very different. There's
Yeah.
no high school in Dynasty Warriors.
Dynasty Wars is just button mashing. It's just like it's the exact opposite. You just turn off your brain and press square for no end.
Are you going to play the Hyrule Kingdom game, which is supposed to be kind of like Dynasty Warrior like?
I might. I've been holding off for a little bit because I'm waiting for the Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires to come to America. Either that, I might just get
Oh,
the. I'll just wait till it releases in Japan and just get the Japanese version.
interesting.
Yeah,
Nice, nice, nice. Damn.
gotta brush up on my Japanese for once.
Yeah, yeah. I almost forget. Japan gets a lot of games that we don't get here.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so jealous every time. I've been talking with there's this person I've been chatting with, and she wants to go to Japan, and I was like, I would. I just like I
Do it,
like there's a moment
do it,
where I just because we've only chatted online, but the entire time I'm
hmm
going like, yeah, let's go, let's just do it, let's
do
go.
it, do it. I mean, once probably best when COVID is over, so you don't have to
Nope,
quarantine for
nope,
14
fuck
days.
that, nope, doing it.
But no, Japan. I've been to Japan twice. I love it.
Really, dude.
Yeah,
Next time, let's get a trip going. Like, let's. I'm sure there's a bunch of people in our circle that'd love to go on a trip like that.
yeah. I bet. I bet. Yeah. No, Japan is
Let's
awesome.
let's just be honest.
It's
Most of the people we know, we're all pretty much at the very least closet weebs. Like, it's just
right. I mean, it's hard not to be. I don't like, dude. Japan is fucking awesome. How can you
yeah.
not? Great food, super friendly people. Come on, man. So much like video game history there, car history.
Oh yeah, you would
Like it's just
you would lose your shit over cars. Holy shit, dude.
yeah, man. Like I said, I
Yeah.
went twice. Once, you
Oh,
know what's funny? I noticed the Axis countries are some of my favorite countries, like Japan and Germany. Like, I
it's like,
don't know
oh
why.
god, yeah. I guess what does that say? Is like, I guess if we went to Italy, we might have a problem. Like,
I know,
it's like,
huh?
all right, we're gonna go to Japan and then Russia and then
Right.
dude, we might have a problem.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what's up, Sharpie? Sharpie's on.
Yo, we were just
Dude, of
talking about
course you're
Japan.
you're coming to Japan with us. Yes, of course.
Yeah, we gotta
And
have
yes,
you.
I think he was saying I am too, like
Translator.
as a weeb. Like, dude, you're definitely a weeb. Like, come on, admit it, bro. Like, by the way, if anyone in the chat wants to join in, we're moving on from we're moving on from the politics and the advice giving, and we're now just kind of we're rambling, man. We're who's it? We're the Eagles band. We're rambling, man. Nobody knows the Eagles. All right, cool. It's like, all right, dope.
Eagles band?
Yeah, the Eagles. Yeah, it's like
Like the
take
Philadelphia
it
Eagles?
no, take it easy. You don't know the Eagles? Oh my
Nah.
god, you might have saved yourself because I'm a closet fan, but they're like not very liked. Um, but there's
Can't-
oh my god.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, man. Let you down.
Whatever. Get off my
Like
fucking stream now, dude. Like whatever. I don't like you anymore. No, I don't
that.
care. Like the Eagles is like it's one of those that either you were you like the Eagles because you were born the year they were successful, which was the 70s and 80s, or
Yeah.
you're like me who just likes many types of music.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I can't. Well, I do. I try to branch out, but I can't. I definitely wasn't born. I was born in the '90s, but yeah, haven't heard the Eagles.
yeah, you're
I did.
what? You're a 92, 93.
No, 90 on the dime.
You're 90 kid? Oh, same. Damn, I thought so yeah, so you'll be oh, so that means you're not even you haven't turned 30 yet, right?
I turned 30 in like 2 weeks or something like that. December 8th.
Birthday celebration.
Yeah,
That'd be a
COVID birthday.
oh dude, we'll find a way. We'll find a way. Uh
Yeah. I
Sharpie
actually had a
Sharpie,
question
you're
for
not
you.
old. You just sit too much, man.
You're
Like
just wise, Sharpie.
yeah. Yeah, he's already become the wise sage of our group.
Right.
But yes,
Uh,
if anyone in the crowd wants to join in on the conversation, please do. Um,
34.
yeah, he's 34. Damn, dude.
So
Uh,
that's like quarter of a life nowadays, man. When you get older, don't worry, man. Get the
yeah, I'm looking forward. My when my dad turned 50. We're gonna get back into games in a second, but when my dad turned 50, my grandma had a saying that did not turn over well, which was "You're halfway there." It's
damn.
like, yeah, all right, tell that to everyone who has an existential problem, grandma. It's like how many
I
how
mean, I could see that definitely being a real thing. Like just turning like so actually I had a real nostalgic moment
mhm.
playing the PS5, playing Astro's Playroom, and I felt really old. Because so like part of the game with Astro's Playroom is you find like these artifacts, and artifacts are basically like accessories or consoles, right, from the PlayStation era. And so you find like PlayStation 1 memory cards, PlayStation 2 memory cards, and whatnot. And like I was literally like, damn, like I remember when I first played a PS5. Like kids nowadays probably never even played a PS1. You know what I mean? I mean a
Mhm.
PS like I remember when I first played a PS1. I
Right.
remember when the PS2 came out and that was like the most craziest thing. That was like the most earth-shattering thing
What about
ever.
what is considered the greatest of all consoles, the Sega Dreamcast?
The Dreamcast was different though. The Dreamcast was
I
ahead of its time, and it was so good that like we just weren't willing to accept it. It
no.
was like,
People didn't. It failed mostly because it was marketing against. It just failed in many ways.
you
But
could
it
say that. You could say the marketing was just off. Like their
well
marketing
it went
was
more
just like,
towards Nintendo. It significantly went more towards Nintendo and Sony. And the
yeah,
fact is, like, you're just because even Nintendo had a different controller. Like they had a controller nobody like. You had this little three pronged like
yeah,
you had this little like what is it? It looks like a three pronged dildo like
yeah,
type of controller, and
um,
so it's like it wasn't really the difference. It was just the way it was marketed.
yeah.
Sharpie kids these days, Jesus Christ! Like I swear, man. So someone else joined in the conversation so Sharpie doesn't fill up the chat at this point, like with his old man nonsense, acting like he's
Think-
old at 34. Jesus Christ, man. I keep having those conversations with friends, man. Like some of them are acting like they're getting old. It's like, dude, you do nothing but sit and eat cheeseburgers. Like you're not old. You refuse to join me at the gym.
Yeah, working out definitely helps. I'm glad. Like I don't feel old. It's just that like when I went through that, it was like, oh shit. And you know what's another thing, a weird thing about humans in general is that we get fixated over round numbers. And so like 30 is a big thing, 50 is a big thing,
Yeah.
right? Well, why not 31? Why not 32? Why not 28? Why not 29? You know what I mean? And so that's like how I try to like look at it. And like I don't know why just 31 sounds better than 30. So it's like I don't know. But yeah, seeing like those old consoles like brought back memories and just had me thinking like, whoa, shit.
Well,
Like
some
I
of them
remember
are
playing those.
so. Some of them are just so legendary. I mean, like
Yeah.
our the we have at least I still have what is still the most sold console in history, the PS2. I
Hmm.
still have my PlayStation 2. and they're
The Switch didn't take. I thought the Switch took over that. No.
no. Switch hasn't even beat PS Vita.
Oh, really?
Yep, dude.
What? I
All right,
thought the Switch was
I'm gonna pull up. I'll pull up the numbers for you. I'll pull up the numbers. But yeah, PlayStation 2 still dominates on that end. They might have beaten PS2 um, in a certain amount of time. And Switch still has time to beat out PlayStation 2, but I think dude, PlayStation 2 was still being sold during PS3 era. Like that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
so if the Switch beat the
I thought the Switch was breaking like all types of records.
yeah, I
Maybe
believe
like
I believe
Nintendo
it.
records or something.
I believe it.
But
They might have beaten it in like the first quarter, like most sold console in a quarter of a year.
I mean, the PS2 is definitely like the GOAT. If you think about it, you know how there's like,
Mhm.
at least with cars, there's always like this thing where like, the older the better, whatever.
Yeah,
And like the PlayStation 5, don't get me wrong, it's like the greatest. But when you talk about like generational like shift, going from if you look at early PS1 games and you jump to PS2, like that was such
yeah.
a big difference.
So
And just like
take a wild guess. And how many millions of copies do you think the PlayStation 2 was sold at?
I'd say the PlayStation, like how many copies they sold as a whole, I
Yeah,
would
total
say
all time.
total. All right, I have a wild guess. I don't know exactly. I would say like 80 million.
80 million. Okay. And how much do you think the Nintendo Switch was sold?
Damn. See, like you already told me the Nintendo Switch hasn't
It
passed the
hasn't.
PS2.
It
So
hasn't.
I would say Switch has sold like 50 million units.
Okay. The Nintendo Switch, since the year 2017, so it's already going into its third year, has sold
Yeah.
60 over 68 million copies.
Wow, okay.
The
Wow, damn.
PlayStation 2, during its entirety, has sold 155 million copies.
Wow.
More than 155 million. The second
Damn.
place one to a close bet, but unfortunately because they came up with a new model, is the Nintendo DS family. So the entire Nintendo DS, the XL, and I think the smaller one.
2DS.
Yeah, so like all those combined sold
Oh,
154 million.
oh,
So
okay.
one console beat out that entire family.
Damn.
So
Damn.
the only one that I don't think is considered, yeah, so it actually proves it on here. The Nintendo 3DS was it's the Nintendo DS versus the 3DS. So Nintendo DS family sold 154, Nintendo 3DS sold 75.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I don't think I've ever played the DS. I've heard good things about it for sure, but I don't think I've ever played it. I've ever touched the system. Um, I think I kind of felt like I missed out, and that's why I hopped on the Switch so fast. But the DS, like the DS had a cheap price tag, right? Like it wasn't a DS cost less than a PS2 if you were like comparing like, like
Hey Sharpie,
apples to
I'm
apples.
just to prevent you from spamming on the chat. Do you just want to join in the Discord? Just to let me know, because I as much as I enjoy you on the chat, it seems like it'd be better just having you on the Discord. Sorry, it's just sometimes that spamming thing gets to me every now and then.
All good, man.
Yeah, but yeah, looking at all these old consoles, some of them have done amazing things all together, and
Yeah.
it's just fantastic. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Let us see it.
Um,
Damn.
yeah.
See. Do you play any do you play any first person shooters?
I do typically. I haven't in a while.
Hmm.
So I did Call of Duty for a while, but I had to get out of it because the updates were so much memory. I don't get it,
Yeah.
man. It's like it's just
Yeah.
why.
There's updates, like constant updates. It's either small ones or big ones, and the big ones tend to be very, very big, and it gets like kind of frustrating to manage your memory. But no, I was gonna ask because I know you said you played League of Legends, so I wondered if you ever
Yeah.
played Rainbow Six Siege.
Yep. Yeah. I rode the silver bus on that one very hard.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Uh,
I
I
was
came
on the
in
silver.
very late on that one. I always like to tell the story of I went through the new process where essentially your team would find out your level. So if say I was level one,
Yeah.
going playing with a bunch of level 40s and 50s, they would think it would be more beneficial to just shoot me and kill me now than letting me play. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. So
It can get bad. It can get bad. That's definitely the downsides of a game like Rainbow Six Siege is that the community can be really, really toxic.
mm,
And so like when you find people that you have a good game with, you kind of like tend to hang on to them, and just like, hey, like, let me know next time you're online because
yeah.
like
Well,
I
isn't
don't want
that
to go out here alone.
is that a that I feel like that's a phrase that's thrown around so much is like, oh yeah, League of Legends has the worst, most toxic community, or Overwatch has the most toxic community, but I don't know. I think every single competitive game, when you talk competition, toxicity
Yeah,
exists. Uh,
yeah, that's true.
shoot, I'm sure if you played that little penguin game online, there's somewhat that cute little penguin game. Someone's trying to send you like a picture of their dick. Like,
Like what's the Fall Guys game or something like that?
oh my god, or Fall Guys. Yeah, I'm sure. Like the fact that there's no chat on that one is probably saving it right now. Is
Yeah.
because just imagining basically the only way you troll is by grabbing a guy, but you're this pudgy little 1 pound bean. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this dude's trolling me. Oh, it's adorable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing they don't have chat in that game.
That's
But
probably
yeah,
their saving
Rainbow
grace.
Six is pretty nasty. I mean, League of Legends, I felt it too, but I think when you're playing with a friend, it's just kind of fun. It's like, dude, chill out, we're
Oh
playing a
yeah.
game.
Well,
Like, you're
that's
not
a,
going
have you,
pro.
my favorite meme of all time was it's essentially this guy who is a knight. So it's a guy who's a knight, and it says gold one player, and he's walking up to this golden chalice. To reach it, essentially it was supposed to be like a piece of treasure, and he grabs it, and then he pulls it in front of him, and it says mute all, and then all of a sudden it shows him becoming Diamond One. So he became Diamond One because he mute all. It's like, I'm telling you, that strategy works. Mute all
Yeah,
works, guys. Do it in League of Legends.
yeah.
It works.
I mute. I think on Call of Duty, that's like the best thing is that you can set like change your settings so that you auto mute everybody except for your party. And that was like the first thing I did. And whenever there'll be times I'm like, oh, like gotta give people a chance. And it's like, nope, never
Nope.
mind.
Nah. Like I said at the beginning of this show, solo queue is garbage.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's you can the part that gets me is you do get some people who join onto you can get them onto voice chat, but the fact is most of them will join on the voice chat, you have a good time, and then you never talk to them again.
I know,
Or in my case vice versa, where they will never talk to me again because, well, I guess I suck. But
huh? Nah, man.
Whatever, dude. I'm riding high on those minor league monies.
Hey, if you just add them, see, I've gotten into the habit of adding people. Like
Yeah.
if we play, like I would say this, so like Warzone, for example, or any battle royale game, if we play together and like we got some chemistry going, like you're taking, I can tell you this and that, and then you'll actually respond. And like
Right.
if we win, like I'm adding you, like we're fucking friends. We won together. Like you know what I mean? Like
I feel that too, man. Yeah, I still meet tons of people online. Like there's a ton of online friends I have. It's just more often than not you get people that go like, "Man, that was fun. We should do it again." And then it's like, not
yeah,
happening.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It
I know
just
what you
happens a
mean.
little
I
more
know.
often. This like, come on, dude. Like, although to be fair, I have pulled that on some people before as well.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to be completely transparent. A lot of times it'll be like I think you're 8 years old, so like I don't feel comfortable being your friend.
Yeah, I'm actually. So is that a thing? Like, you won't play with kids. Sorry for messing with my mic. I just want to make sure it's getting the best audio.
No, I would say it's like just being honest again, it's like the voice thing. Um,
Uh,
and so it's funny, like going back to Gamers Grid, a lot of people like one of like when I got to talk to users and the people about it, they were like how can I make sure I don't match with a squeaker? Like because they don't want to play with like somebody they see they have a good profile and then you find out it's like it's somebody that has like a really squeaky voice and that's like that just has that's a 10-year-old. You know what I mean?
right.
When you're like a more mature person, you're not going to click with somebody like that.
I
Um,
guess I guess I'm in a better spot because I used to coach kids in gaming, so it's like it's just something I don't know. It's something I've always been used to.
oh yeah. What game were you coaching?
A league, yeah,
Oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
It would get some kids to get up to like gold or platinum, and then
Yeah.
some of them would stay in like the bronze or silver, but they're gonna learn. But
Mm,
it'd be the main thing I always taught them is like it doesn't matter what rank you are. If you're a good teammate, you'll get a dub.
yeah. Which is true. Which is true.
Yeah, I
And
would.
these games are meant to play as a team. That's the
Oh
thing
my
that people
god,
just never get. It's like if you
I
play as a team, you could be so dominant. Like,
there are very few moments of me having meltdowns I don't want shown on camera. But there was one meltdown I had with a group of guys who I was trying to get in for a tournament with.
yeah,
And it was just me shouting, "It's a team game" to the top of my lungs, and I elbowed the side of a wall and broke it. And I was like,
damn,
and I mean, I was stupidly like, that wasn't even me fully angry. Because
yeah,
if I was angry, I would have been like, uh, getting all the like half of that team kicked out and said, "You have ruined this whole thing," like blah blah blah. But
mm,
I was very infuriated and very annoyed, but then looking back on it the next day, I was like, God, that was freaking hilarious. Like just a
yeah,
dude repeating that 50 fucking times. It's like it's a team game. It's a team game. It's a team game.
I mean, it gets like the worst out of you, man.
Yeah.
It definitely brings like so Rainbow Six Siege, I think, like my worst moment in that game, and you know how it works. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're the last person standing, and all of a sudden your teammates that died, your teammates that died, like put all the pressure on you to
Mm-hmm.
fucking win the fucking round, right? And so it's like it was like me versus four other people, and like I killed one, and I had like two or three more to go, and I stepped on like what was that shit called? The like it's basically the mine. It's like the trap that like clamps down on you or something like that. I step on it and
Yeah.
it kills me. And literally all my teammates just started fucking yelling at me and trashing me. And I was just like, yo, are you serious? Like, weren't y'all all dead?
That's
Like, you know what I mean?
teamwork is a hard thing, man. It's a you can always tell when someone you play with has never played a team sport in their life.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah. That's a good one.
it's the same concept I have with people who you can tell never worked a service job in their life, like a customer service job, because of the way they treat
Mm,
you. And yeah, it's some of them be children. Some like I dude, honestly, I welcome kids like teenagers and even people in their early 20s to come at me with shit. I welcome it. But when you're my age or older and you're like talking smack about like how some garbage thing going on, dude, like where like it's almost like how are your kids doing? Did you check on your kids lately? Like how's your wife? Did you go to church? How's church? Like man, did you eat anything today? Did you cook yourself some beans out of a can? Cuz dear god, you are a fucking adult and you are screaming nonsense at me.
yeah,
Like
they're
uh
out there.
yeah, the pub is that supposed to be PUBG Sharpie or is that he said pug matches and all I'm imagining is pug like the
The
puppies.
dog.
Yeah, just imagining puppy matches. Like it's like, oh, that's adorable.
I assume you meant PUBG. But yeah, I mean, battle royales are definitely like,
Pickup games. Okay, gotcha.
oh, pickup games.
Yeah, I yeah. First of all, to anyone who joined in the chat, feel free to join in. We're just talking games now. We had a good little show with Clyde about his journey as an entrepreneur, but now we're just kind of keeping things chill. And if you guys want to join in, please join in. This is the
Actually, I got some interesting to talk. Have you heard of Shadow Tech?
Shadow Tech. It sounds familiar.
Shadow.tech. So it's basically it's PC. Like you play on PC, right?
Yes, I do.
So it's basically PC streaming, where you connect remotely to a PC, and it basically has a 1080 graphics cards, like 12 gigabytes of RAM, and I think for like the
Pretty good.
lowest price tier, you also get like 256 gigabytes of storage or something like that. And so I signed up for that. And I got access. I wasn't expecting to get access until like November because they
Mhm.
do like a rotational thing. Um, but it's what was I gonna say? It's actually pretty dope, and it cost me $15 a month to have access to a PC.
How much was it?
$15 a month.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but the thing is, I
Is
haven't
it?
even
Is it?
played it.
Oh, really? Yeah. So
Like,
that's the thing. Is like, is it worth it? Be based on the
so
uh,
like it's all about games at the end of the day, right? And
yeah.
so it's like I was like, whoa, like so I've been wanting to get a PC, like a game PC for like a really long time. Like right now I just have like a MacBook Pro, which is fine. Like I run a Windows partition on it, so I'm able to like play like some games, although they never really turn out to look that good. And so now like I finally have this access and I'm like, oh shit, like I have all this power. And then it's like, all right, well, what do I do? It's like, well, I could buy games, but then like, like, okay, I have to spend money on games, but then I just bought this PS5. And so now like I'm in this PS5. And so it's just like, it's funny because, we always talk about like this race of like the best graphics card, the best processor, the best, like how much RAM you need. But it doesn't matter if you don't have like the right games to play, if you don't have time to play, and then if you don't have like um it's not the right games. It's like if the timing is off for you, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's some RTS games I've really been wanting to play, but then it's like, damn, do I want to drop $60 on this like 3-year-old game when I already spent like how much money on this PS5 and fucking Spider-Man and the headset and all this?
Yeah. It's like I always have that about I always have that about like the VR systems because VR is getting some leeway, but then it's like $1,000 just to get a good
Yeah.
setup, and I don't know,
Well, the
man.
Oculus Quest 2 is supposed to be decent,
Yeah,
although
I
it's
mean,
still
dude, they're all
$400.
fantastic. They're like there are very few VR headsets, and Oculus is kind of leading on being the leader upon them. Um, and it's looking good. It's looking great. Um, overall. Sorry, I just replying to a text real quick.
No good.
But it's just like it's $1,000. I don't. It's just it's all I'll probably end up playing is Beat Saber at that
Yeah,
point.
and then like
And
Half-Life Alyx or something like that.
yeah, it's oh god, I want to. I really want to. It's that thing when you're an adult. It's just, or
Right.
dude. Even when I was a kid, why am I exaggerating this? I was like this even when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I really want it, but I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Drones. I feel the same way about drones.
Oh
It's
my god.
like God, I want a drone so bad, and it's like I watch all the reviews. There's like the Mavic. They come out with like Mavic Mini, and now it's like, oh, it's only $500. It's not $800 anymore, and it's like, and then because like I
But see, a
know
drone
it's
would
gonna
make
have.
sense for me because it fits in my business. So it like
Yeah, yeah,
if I
yeah,
was going to get
which
a
is true.
drone, it's like, oh yeah, I can make that a business expense.
Right,
Um,
which is true.
but
I
it's
mean, like same here, like I make, like I started picking up and making more like car videos since I got my car 2 weeks ago. But it's like, what's the, do I spend this $500 here, And then like, because if I do spend it, then like, well, first of all, if I go for a drone, I'm not going to get the cheapest one. I'm not going to get the Mavic Mini. I'm going to have to get the Mavic
oh, of
something,
course you got to
so
get the
it's
like
going
the
to
DJIs or Phantoms,
be,
or you have to go
you
ham with
know,
this.
I got to find the right one. And then, but it's, yeah, like you said, it's just adulting, I guess.
I mean, yeah, in a sense, it's just I think I think we make excuses as adults to say that we if we need to focus on certain responsibilities, but at the same time, I see certain responsibilities being invested poorly themselves. Um, like just taking care of maintaining a bathroom. I've seen people waste a ton of money where it's just like, dude, you don't need to do that. Like, it's it's, it's a random thought. It was just a random thought. I keep saying it's an adulting problem, but it's really not. It's just a dummy thing that we as humans gotta consider, even no matter what age we are.
Well, I think it's learning that as an adult you have to make wise decisions, because if you make shitty decisions you get shitty consequences. I think like when I learned that, really it was like, for example, like going to college, right? Like my first year going to college, living in the dorms, I was like, wait, I can party Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like I can't say no to that. I can't,
Of
like, if
course
my
not.
friends tell me like,
Why would
like
you
I
deny that? Why would you
like
deny
we're
yourself that
free,
right?
right?
So Sharpie, you got the Quest 2, so it rides all right. Like how long you had it? I'd like to know. I'd like to know that. Um, yeah, it's just
We can buy from Costco. I heard
yeah.
Costco's the best place to buy Quest 2 from.
Oh dang, he just got it. Damn, it was about a month.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
shirt my biscuit. I don't know what that meant. It's getting into the rounds, man. We're on hour 3. We're getting into this, dude. You could, yeah, shirt my biscuit. This is gonna be a thing. You could. I wouldn't be surprised if you no, because Gavin was the longest. Gavin was over 4 hours, so you'll be right on the
Oh yeah,
cusp. You'll be right on the cusp.
I gotta watch that. I haven't seen Gavin in a while. He hit me up like Halloween. Did you hang out with him for Halloween?
We hung out for a little bit. Yeah, we hang out regularly now and then. He's like the only guy that's willing to go out, like him and his roommate Jordan, or just do whatever. And so pretty much I could call on. I could him and basically Sharpie is the one I could call on to hang out at any point online, and Gavin's the only person I could call on to hang out anytime in person.
Nice. Yeah, Gavin's been doing good. His I was actually watching his stream. I want to say about a week ago or something like that, and
Right.
he was definitely doing good. I think he was playing Russ, I would say.
Yep. It's Rust.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
He's
it's
got an
crazy.
audience on that one.
Yeah,
If you don't know what we're talking about, that is Mr. Rocky X Core. So Mr. Rocky, the letter X Core, Core. He does Valorant and Rust play. So very good guy. You may even see a treat of him getting buzzed and smash a beer can on his forehead. Yeah.
is that what he does?
He's
I
a
missed
treat.
that part.
He's a treat, man. Sometimes when you get him hyped up, he'll do some dumb shit.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
He's an inspiration for us all. Um, did you see? But you missed it. Like you missed a moment where he tried to become Momo Okamono's mod, one of her mods, and he sent in a video resume to get that position, and one of them was the moment where he got so hyped he smashed. It was one of the moments he smashed a can on his forehead.
Really?
And it's like he didn't get the job, and I don't know why.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very weird. I don't know why. It's like, dude,
damn.
you have a legit fan. Like you have a legit fanboy.
I mean, who got the job then?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What did they do?
Yeah, I'd love to find out. I'm actually trying. Hopefully, she'll be in one of my shows. She's a, I reached out to her, and her mods not too long ago, and now I got to send over some paperwork for them. But otherwise, hopefully, I'll get to talk with her next year, if we get
Nice.
things settled. But because I mean, dude, she's not only a top just chatting streamer, but she is, I think
Oh, really?
she's a top 1% in OnlyFans, I think.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
dude. So I'd love to get an insight on that. Like, dude, I'd love to get an
Wow.
insight onto the. It's weird. I know I have never touched OnlyFans in my entire life, but I know four of the top one, or maybe the top 3% of OnlyFans members.
Really?
And it's like I need to talk with these people. I need to get an insight into this environment because maybe I have a 6 pack now, so maybe I should get into it. Like, who
I
knows?
mean,
Maybe if
I think it's
there's a
like,
larger market for dad bods, maybe I'll just get a gut.
who knows, man?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder. I think Chris Brown probably has the OnlyFan, right? So
I'd be
it's
surprised if he
probably
did.
just
He doesn't seem like someone who needs an OnlyFans. Bella Thorne has an OnlyFan, and she looks like someone who needs an OnlyFans to sustain her career. Chris Brown
I
doesn't
mean, I
look like
think
he
it's
needs to
like
sustain his career.
people are probably also trying to like diversify and stuff, trying to find new ways to like, you know, grow their audience and whatnot.
Yeah, but
Like I could see
OnlyFans,
it, but OnlyFans
OnlyFans,
just seems so interesting because it's like, it's not just about like the content, right? I think it's about the super personal, like the VIP experience you build with your like subscribers, and like your or like
yeah,
your tier
that's
subscribers.
true. I once again, I still don't know a whole lot. Nope, you're right. Chris Brown has an OnlyFans.
I
Yep.
know because I'm sub to it. Wait, what?
Wait, what? I know it's a thing. Yeah, he plays certain videos, and yeah, that's interesting, man. I don't I to pay dude, that's $20 a month for Chris Brown
Really?
content? Fuck no.
How
Fuck
many
no.
people does this? Can you see how many people?
I could probably pull it up. I could probably pull up the metrics. Um
Oh, that would be really interesting to me.
uh God, that $20 a month, just you could watch 3 months worth of Netflix. Or well, you can't do that now. You can watch 2 months. You could watch 2 months worth of Netflix.
Yeah.
For that, like, holy crap. Uh, oh, hold on. Oh my god, I'm so close up on web searches. It's just for some people I get it. It's a as a market, especially because of the lewd content. Because right now there are so many other things that are regulated for lewds, particularly in Patreon and Tumblr, and so the place you would go would be a place where it's not being regulated. So
Yeah.
fantastic. Like OnlyFans is the perfect place to do that. But to pay $20 a month to go see Chris Brown stuff, like I see there's a 22-second video here. There's a photo, another photo. Like that, dude. That's not worth it. Like I'm sorry. Like that is a waste of
But
that is
he
a
probably
waste of
like gives
money.
you a shout out. He's probably like, "Hey Edward, how's your cat doing? Like, haven't talked to you in a
That's for
while,
$20 a month. He better be fucking that cat, like, like and sending the film, like Jesus.
Oh God.
All right, so it looks
Uh,
like he has 8.7K subscribers, or I guess those are likes. I guess you can like. Yeah, never mind that. That's not it. I'll see if we can find the metrics.
but can anybody give a like, or is it like only certain
Let me see. Let's find
certain
out.
people.
Yep, I can't like his stuff. So yeah, you have to be a
So it's not
subscriber.
subscribed. Yeah, but
God.
imagine like the smaller the group is, the more like personalized. But I don't know. I just can't see like Chris Brand taking it as like seriously as like
Well, no, you don't need to.
um,
As a celebrity, you just take a picture yourself. Like that's all you gotta do. That's
which is crazy, crazy.
oh my god. But it would be so great to get further into that environment. It's
Yeah,
because it's a new market. Like we it's
it
the
is.
epitome of it's the balance between uh basically it's basically like the nicer competitor for porn.
It
And
is,
so
right?
it's so interesting. I don't want to get involved in it, but I would like to learn more about it.
See, the thing is, I don't think it's going away
No,
anytime. And
of
so,
course not. It's not.
right. So
If
it's only going to
anything,
get bigger.
if anything, it's going to end up getting more funding, and therefore it's going to have regulations.
Mm,
So whoever sponsors or commercializes it is going to probably look at that and say like, we need less naked photos.
interesting. I don't know. I feel like
Well,
that takes away from it.
that's what happened to
But it's
Tumblr.
like,
That's what happened to Patreon.
but they were always behind, like OnlyFans is behind closed doors, right? Like Tumblr and I guess Patreon is behind closed doors too.
Yeah, all
Um,
these are subscriber based.
yeah. I don't know. But what's really interesting to me is that I thought OnlyFans was like for porn, right? Like I thought that
Yeah.
like you'd get an OnlyFans because you want to be, like an independent contractor and have your own porn videos that you can monetize. But it turns out it's a lot more than that. Like I'd be surprised like what's the percentage of people on OnlyFans that are actually doing porn. I bet it's a small percentage,
Well,
right?
Ludes gets the most market. So basically, girls
So
wearing.
what's lewds?
So that's
Is that like
essentially showing. It's basically like wearing very fancy underwear for women. So it's like
oh,
this is the Victoria's Secret model, but like way more risque. So
hmm.
it's like
So
going,
still like having a top,
or better
basically?
yet, someone will be naked. Someone will be naked, but she'll cover her tits.
No, interesting.
Yeah. So that's lewd. Lewd is essentially like going. It's like really treading that line on sexuality.
Hmm.
Or for guys, it would be like wearing a banana hammock and stretching them quads. Or if you're in case you're a dad, you have a dad bod, just stretching out that beer belly.
Yeah, that's funny. It's also funny, like the double standard. I remember listening to a podcast about this, about like men nipple versus women nipples, and why men nipples are okay and women nipples are not okay, and very fine line.
Yeah.
And it's something that like
What was the reasoning behind that? I still don't quite understand the reasoning for a woman nipple being so taboo.
I don't know. But yeah, I wonder why that's maybe it's because of breastfeeding. I don't know. I don't know when that started. That'll be a good interesting thing.
Just a bunch of 50-year-old dudes see a nipple and just go like, "Mommy, milky."
Right.
Like
Like what did
they're
that
worried that that's like the same mentality though as we can't have gay people in the army because they'll like have sex with our men.
is that a thing, really?
Yeah, that was a thing where it's the reason one of the major reasons or one of not it wasn't the major political reason, but it was the one that was brought up in on news where it's just like we don't want gay people in the army because they'll just want to have sex with all the other army men.
Well then, I'm sure bad news. There's how many people in the army?
Yeah.
Like
Man, it get real
uh,
lonely out on them seas, brother. So I think you might have a bigger problem.
right. I do remember for the I think, all right, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember Obama passed a thing so that if you were transgender, you could come out to say you were transgender and in the army, and then that got repealed back, right?
So the transgender one, it wasn't specific to transgenderism, but he essentially reversed the effects of "don't ask, don't tell." So as long as you didn't say you were
Oh, no,
gay, you wouldn't be implicated for being removed from the army. As far as the transgender one, there wasn't regulation on transgenderism as a whole.
Okay.
So there was less of a problem in a sense, but it also means there was a lot more problems because there was no regulation on it. That's why the Trump moment where he tried to bring in like removing transgender men from the army was so controversial, even though that didn't pass. Or sorry, it was put on the table, but it didn't pass. Actually, I don't know if it has been presented yet or not as a federal law. For all I know, it's still in that stack of papers that they always keep right there at the Senate Majority Leader's desk.
Interesting.
Yeah, politics, man, it's fun. I mean, it's not, but I have a good time with it.
It gets spicy for sure.
Dude, imagine if there's an OnlyFans for the House of Representatives. So Nancy Pelosi lewds.
I mean, I'm sure that, but most, I don't know about that. Either that or Mitch McConnell. Which one would you pick? You got a good. It's funny. So answer this question. If you were to be in the middle of a forest and you could only have one person with you, what would be the least likely person you'd have with you in the forest? Like the person you'd last want to be with in the middle of the forest.
The person I'd last want to be with in the middle of that forest?
Yeah, it could be anybody.
Oh. I mean, you're pretty much talking about someone I'd worry that either would just leave me there or kill me. Oh my god, there's a pretty long list, dude. Like there was this kid in high school. I'm not gonna say his name, but there was this kid in high school that I basically one-upped him on a frequent basis. I'd probably say that dude because I am genuinely worried that he would stab me.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
He wants revenge on you.
Yeah, because I was a show-uppy kid, so anytime he did something, I tried to show him up. So.
Damn.
Yeah, I'd probably go. What brought this question on? What a weird question to bring up in the middle of this.
It was a work icebreaker before we started a meeting.
Right.
That was a question that went around the room. My answer was Mitch McConnell. That was the last person.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, his whole thing is in the middle of a forest, he would not survive in a forest at all.
No.
At least
hands on me.
At least Dick Cheney could shoot. I'd just be worried he'd shoot me.
Dude, it's so funny you say that because Dick Cheney was the second person I would think of. I would not want to be.
It's such a I guess I get why that question came up then. Yeah, it's God, I'd love to. That's a thing I would look forward to because at some point the OnlyFans page is going to have to be brought up to the House and the Senate because it is going to be implicated for some type of federal regulation depending on whoever buys them. I would love to see Mitch McConnell talking about OnlyFans regulations because just hearing him talking about anything pornographic would just be hilarious to me. Oh,
well, I mean,
it'd give my kids.
I bet Rudy Giuliani is on OnlyFans.
Oh my god! God, talk about that's a lady boner right there.
Have you seen Borat 2, the second one?
I have not. I have no desire to see it, but I hear it is hilarious.
It's good. It's good, man. Did you watch Borat 1? Is that why you say that? The first one?
I did, but it wasn't because of that. It's just the found footage. Most of those even the comedy based ones where you do that found footage with a bunch of other people, real world people it's just not my. I get why it's funny, and I actually do laugh at it, but it's just not my thing.
I would say it goes a little bit beyond comedy because it's funny, but then it's this is real, that there's people that live their lives like this, but you also look at it, well, they live their lives like this because of XYZ, you know what I mean? Because they grew up in this environment and you kind of see things. So at the front, you're oh my God, how is this person like this? But then you're wait, they've been fucked over this way and that way, and so that's why they see things this way, or they were brought up in a certain way. So it's the first one is very like brutal, like it's just super like comedy and stuff. But this one has actually like a story to it, I would say, um, which was cool. I think they did a better job. But there's just a scene with Rudy Giuliani there, and
Yeah,
it's
I heard
kind of
about the
hilarious.
infamous Rudy Giuliani scene. I will say it'd be very weird to say. I think I get why they did it as a joke. I'm more than confident that he wasn't putting his hand down his pants to jerk off or whatever.
Uh, I don't. I mean, you can see the if you watch it, the scene in the movie, he's just like he zips his pants up and down like he's sending a signal. He doesn't do it and then just like pull his thing out or whatever.
Right.
But he's like it's like some aggressive like flirting, I would say. And I watched an interview with
He
Sasha
is a very
Cohen.
gross dude. I will say. Like
Uh, yeah,
I've heard that man. I've heard that man talk to ladies. He is a very gross dude.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
he
you want
makes
one.
he makes me feel sad when I say the word sweetie. Like
It
I consider the word sweetie a very well meaning word, but when guys like that say that, it's like, oh no, no.
comes off different, right?
It's
It
like
hits different.
dude, he's from New York. He's from New York and he's using a southern term. Like it's like just it's so sad. It's yeah, it's anyway. I yeah. If there's a Rudy Giuliani OnlyFans, they need to shut that shit down. Like OnlyFans is done. It's donezo. Like that,
They
it
went
would
too
no longer
far.
be in business.
They went too far.
Yeah, they took it one degree too far. I bet you someone made a Rudy Giuliani fan OnlyFans.
Probably
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised,
but
man.
yeah, I love to check in on that. Like, I've already reached out to Momo Kimono and her um, staff, as you call it, or her group, I guess is more accurate. Um,
Hmm.
and then there's a few other people I'd love to chat with on that who are in the top tier OnlyFans space. Um,
Yeah,
it's a thing I can confidently say I'm not doing, but I am very intrigued about.
it is. It is very intriguing, and I wanna see what it's like. I am not gonna pay for it. That's the thing. I'm
It's
just
just
too
five.
way too stubborn. But I
That's the
want to
thing
see what
that
it's
gets
like on
me.
the other
See,
side of the door.
this is the part I'm worried about. This is the part I'm worried about with having these conversations because all of them are ladies, all of them are women. So obviously, like most of the top tier in OnlyFans are going to be women. But the thing is, I'm worried that I'm going to get so contrarian about it because the cheapest one is $5 a month. Like $5.
Yeah.
That's $120 I'm spending on someone, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that pays off. Like there's so many other things you can pay with that. Like it's
There is, but I mean, $5 a month. So I went through this when I was dating, and I paid for like Tinder Premium, right?
oh,
Because and I was like, let's say that was $10 a month.
talk about a regret.
Um,
I did that for like a month, and I was like, nah, never again.
well, the thing is that it's the cost of a drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like $5 a month. If you're paying an OnlyFans person $5 a month, you're basically buying them a coffee.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like the same with like, Twitch, right? You sub to somebody's channel, and, if you sub, you pay them $5 a month because you want to keep them going. And I feel like OnlyFans, I mean, I don't know. I assume it's kind of like the community thing within OnlyFans and how you build like a closer rapport. But yeah,
well, it
I want to
literally
try
is a
out. We were
community.
looking,
It literally is
uh,
a community based thing. Um,
yeah, right.
so it's just another form of social media. It's just I can't, man. It's not a thing. Um,
You know what's going to
I
happen
feel inclined
next?
to be
There's going to
involved
be
with.
two people. that are going to start a company and they're going to meet through an OnlyFans community. They were subscribed to somebody and then they just like ended up being friends. And next thing you know, they're starting the next Snapchat or fucking Salesforce or wherever.
Maybe. I'd probably bet against it, but you know, I'd probably short those stocks before anything. Sorry, I'm moving to my mic again. I'm getting fidgety because I'm just like talking about this gets me excited. It's like because I'm learning something new, but not for the other reason. But yeah, yeah, dude, it gets me so excited. The Rudy Giuliani, man. I wonder what the next venture is going to be because right now, so OnlyFans is getting the most out of it, and probably did get a huge survival because oh my god, the camera came off again. Discord, you're killing me. You're killing me, Discord. Anyway, what I was saying was, I'm getting you back on, bud. What I was saying was that OnlyFans right now is surviving primarily because of the pandemic, and probably got a huge market because of the pandemic. And then, I wonder what the next thing is that's going to compete against it because it's just it obviously OnlyFans isn't going to be the end all be all. It just isn't. Why isn't the preview camera not working? It'd be very amazing to see because one, just like nobody's gonna really, just go like, oh, OnlyFans wins, it's done, shut it down, guys.
Well, somebody else is gonna try to come at it. But I mean, if you look at
if anyone's like me, I've already thought of competitors on that end. So it's like literally, it's not an impossibility. As long as people like me still exist, new products are always going to keep rolling in.
Yeah, and they should. Like if OnlyFans doesn't keep innovating, they're going to be left behind.
Realized I'm going off topic here, but I just looked at myself for a quick second. It's like with my hair up like this, I look like a young Alec Baldwin. I was just looking at myself for a second.
I can see it a little bit.
You know, it just caught me for a second with those piercing blue eyes. I'm becoming Narcissus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like I'm just gonna make an OnlyFans for myself and just stare at myself.
Do it. Subscribe to yourself too.
Dude, that'd be the new Greek god mythology. The guy, Narcissus story. So you know the story of Narcissus, where the guy who looked into a pond and saw his reflection and he never left because he was so attracted to himself.
Oh, is that a Greek mythology?
Yeah, he's the demigod. I forgot what type of demigod he was, but he was born under Aphrodite, and a human. And he stared into a pond. I think he got cursed, if I recall correctly. He got cursed, stared into a pond of water, and then never stepped away from that pond of water and died of starvation.
Oh damn!
So essentially, OnlyFans, me subscribing to me creating an OnlyFans for myself is the new Narcissus fable. That'd be amazing. That's how you. Dude, appreciation of your own art. That's rappers listen to their own music, so why not watch my own lewd photos? Right. Oh my god. It's crazy. It's a crazy world we're living in. We now have Joe Rogan on Spotify at this point. So talk about a weird.
Does he upload to YouTube still, or is that over?
He still does. I don't know when the contract officially states when he'll be only Spotify, but he is still doing YouTube.
I haven't watched his podcast in a while, but interesting. That was interesting podcast to listen to while commuting for sure.
You know what's the funniest thing is, first of all, he is. I'm friends with a bunch of people who do not like him.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I can understand that. There's a ton of people not to like it. Tons of reasons not to like Joe Rogan.
Yeah. But it's I like him. I really do. I've been following him. I even followed his stand up around the same time I followed him on Fear Factor. So it's
Oh shit.
yeah, it's I've been a fan of his. I'm not saying like it's if I walk up to him I'm going to freak out. Like I don't look up to him as in any sort of way, but it's just he is a guy who found success through his own means, and I have a huge respect for him.
Yeah.
But his one of the funniest things I found about it is one he just had a conversation of or you well sorry you heard about the people of Spotify saying they would protest if if the Spotify did not censor Joe Rogan.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so there was a threat from the Spotify staff if there wasn't basically a regulation on the Joe Rogan's, particularly on the type of guest he brings on. So mostly because he brings on controversial figures like Candace Owens or Alex Jones or Ben Shapiro or Milo
Yeah.
Yiannopoulos, like pretty much a ton of those. And he started chatting with that when he got moved into his new office. And then no more than a week ago, after he mentioned that on his episode, he brought on Alex Jones. So Alex Jones is literally walking through the offices of Spotify, the people who are protesting that he should never walk into this office ever again to go talk to Joe
Yeah.
Rogan. And yeah, it's
Uh, yeah. I mean, I would say that I side on Joe Rogan's side. When it comes to this, at the end of the day, you can't. If we don't talk to each other, then we're only going to get worse off. And
well,
I think that if you, at the end of the day, what he's doing is he's having a conversation. And so
mm-hmm,
he's going to bring them into his thing and he's going to have a chat with them. And you can still decide that, like, okay, you know what? This person is a complete piece of shit. But you can't just have like all people you consider good to be on the podcast. And like I hate Candace Owens, right? But
oh,
she
I
should
have
be
some
on
words about Candace Owens.
yeah, but she should be Joe Rogan should interview her. You know what I mean?
My favorite thing to learn, and I will stick with this forever, is when Dave Chappelle said that she must have the sourest pussy that ever existed. It was like I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that forever. She must have the sourest tasting pussy. It was like I'm keeping that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's that. I think it's just people found a way to get like popular, and it's one of those things that scares me about
Well,
social media, is that if you know the algorithm, you know how to get people triggered, you can become very famous in
right.
general very
Well,
easily.
they're also.
And
I'm first going to say this, like about particularly. This is specifically Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, and that they are very intelligent people. There is no doubt in my mind that they in many ways know what they're talking about, even though a lot of it's misguided. However,
yeah,
and it's just the problem is they say it in such a way that is so extreme. It's just like it's like at one point Ben Shapiro will bring up a whole string of laws that been put into place. It's like, great, you're bringing up facts, great job. And then all of a sudden he talks about how he would rather see a gay person kill themselves after mentioning those laws. Like, ooh, you were so close, you were so close, you were very close. It's like you
yeah,
almost had it. That's
yeah. That's funny because the first time I ever heard about Ben Shapiro was on like the Joe Rogan podcast. Like I was like,
right.
who's this guy? And then like I was trying to keep up, and like I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then I like sometimes like, oh yeah, he seems kind of cool, and then it's like, wait, what? Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Go deep into this shit. Go deep into this shit. I
but
honestly would love to talk with Ben Shapiro because he and I are first of all we have very different paths. He grew up with kind of a struggle while I was very fruitful, and he is a college graduate while I am not. And but we seem we there is a there's a mindset that he and I share, which is basically like, don't hold back, but mine is basically like, don't hold back, but don't punch low. Like, yeah, just like that's my mentality usually. So it's like I'd love to talk with him to see like how low is he gonna punch at me before I uppercut him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with him. I think my mentality is not just to give everyone a voice, because obviously we should. Like, we should have a conversation. We should not, but my part on it is saying we should not be afraid of everyone having a voice. So essentially what I'm saying is if a guy like, or if a woman like Alex or Candace Owens comes in and starts mentioning that George Floyd was a criminal, and we should not feel bad for him, and we should, be supporting Blue Lives Matter and all that stuff, instead of just shooting her, basically saying like, sorry, poor choice of words, but instead of just shooting her down, and saying we will never ever speak to you again, we should stand on the other side of that room alongside of her and say like, I'm sorry, but you cannot use that. Like, that's not it's like, this is beyond just him being a criminal. This is beyond, it's beyond just one man dying. It's a man who died of very poor causes, and who was still, despite his faults, was still a very loving father and a very loving husband.
It's human
and had
rights.
Friends. And so I think we cannot be afraid to talk with these people, because it means we're just letting them go be themselves and live their lives. If we cannot argue our point to people who argue their point opposing of us, then we have no proof that our point is right. Without debate, it doesn't prove anything.
It takes energy, which is like why I think a lot of people do it. Because like I'm sure you've had conversations. Like I've had conversations. Like, full disclaimer, I am not a Trump supporter. Like, I do not like Trump at all. And I've had conversations with people that were like, that were Trump supporters, but it was like, I mean, I vote for Trump because, like, he lowered the taxes and my business got better. So, like, why should I vote for Biden? You know what I mean? And so it's like, and trying to show him, like, this person that, like, hey, it's more than just that. Like, there's a lot of things that Trump are saying that just aren't good, and this and that. Try to show, like, the full picture of the scenario. And a lot of times when I will bring up, like, facts, a lot of times, people will like reject those, or will be like, like whatever, like, oh, that's not that important, or and it just, there's a lot of times where you have conversations with people and you bring up facts, and the people just don't like respect your facts, and it could be very.
Well, I love to bring up that point, because facts is one thing, but here's the thing. So there's a term that was originally coined by Ben Shapiro, which is facts do not care about your feelings. Which is a very true statement. Facts don't have feelings themselves, therefore they do not care about our feelings. However, my counterpoint to it is always, America isn't just about facts. It is a feeling country. It is something where this is the point I'm trying to make in how we have this conversation and this debate with people on the opposite side, especially Trump supporters, because most Trump supporters vote because of, not most, but some Trump supporters voted based on emotional points than they did for factual points. But the fact is, and there's an irony to this, but the fact is, the irony is that the fact is that emotions are a central part of the United States. It's to the point that even like now we are considering nationalism a big taboo word, because, supporting a country you were born in is a big taboo. But there is a pride in there.
Because it gets associated with like so many different other things, and then it's like now it's like, oh, like, like you support the military, you're automatically like red. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much, like everything just got so polarizing. And
but
just like
there's a huge impact towards feelings. There's a huge impact towards it. There's a huge impact there, just as much as there's an impact towards facts. And if we ignore the feelings part of it, we ignore the part of why people voted for Trump. We ignore why we get into what we do. If maybe it's because of our family, maybe it's because of our success or our dreams or a loved one. Of course, for most men, it'd probably be because of a woman. Or for most Black or Asian or Hispanics, it's because of their heritage. Like, most of these things are emotion based; they're not fact based. And if we ignore that part, then we can't have that conversation with other people, despite how they agree or disagree with us. Yeah, it's great to bring up facts. It really is, and actually, it's a great way to close in on a problem. So there's a strategy in politics when presenting a bill that is most used on how a bill is presented, and it is when setting up a stop sign. So there's a four-way street. There's a four-way street going, and there's no stop sign there. And then a kid, like a young 20-something-year-old, is riding his motorcycle, and he gets hit by a car, like just gets hit hard. His mother's distraught and starts doing research and finds out that there have been 4 times more accidents on that four-way street than any other part of the city. And she uses that research. She shows that, like, people are getting hit here, and my son has died. But the thing that hammers it home most of all is our sons and daughters are dying in this street because there's no stop sign. Like, there's a huge impact in emotion and love. There's a huge impact on hate. There's a huge impact on fear. There's a huge impact on peace.
That's why we have all cars now come with what is it called, with rear view cameras since I think 2016. All new cars must come with rear view cameras. You know why that is?
Because kids keep getting hit.
Yeah. Yep. A couple parents ran over their kids, and so they went like all the way. There was a good podcast talking about the value of life and how we, like, I think, like, they put together the math on, like, what's the value of one person, and it was saying, like, it's like $30 million or something like that. But, like, it's hard to actually put that, like, how much to a father for his son, like, how much does he value his son? Like, you can't say $30 million, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's some dads out there that would do it, but
there is a huge problem, especially with defining the value of a human life, because especially in the insurance companies, when someone dies, it's like, well, congratulations, you get $30,000, despite us being at fault. It's good to use facts as arguments, but once again, ironically, people on both sides will use facts as their argument and then forget the emotion of the other side. Even though the emotion plays a huge part in it.
That's a good.
Yeah, and I think if we don't realize, we can probably think it's atrocious of why their emotions like that. But if we don't understand, almost you got to think it like Sun Tzu. That Sun Tzu strategy is like, if you don't think like your enemy, then therefore you will never win the battle. At best, you'll have a draw. At best. And I think a lot of people don't want to do that because they're afraid they might lose. They're afraid their mind might be changed, and therefore they will be confirmed wrong. That's on both sides. That's not just Democrat, Republican, pro-gay, anti-gay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. I am an optimist through and through, and I believe that people will get there, but it is at the risk of the individual, not just of the group. We have to ourselves, to fix this, we have to ourselves build that quality inside of our own system, inside of our own soul, in order to fully build an understanding and an appreciation of one another. And we can't do it by forcing other people to agree with us, but we have to understand why people do what they do. Otherwise, we're just doomed to be on opposite sides.
It's true. It's true. And got to talk to each other at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just you don't. Talking is one thing. Understanding is the big thing.
Listening, yeah. Listening is.
Yeah, listening is another big one, but understanding I think is the biggest one because I think the main reason why people fail at that is because they say they understand, but they really don't. I myself am at fault of that. I have fallen into that trap more than a few times. And it's going to happen. It really is. That's part of being human. We're going to make these, like we were talking about your business. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fail. We're gonna get our asses kicked. We're gonna have people say some very mean things to us. But if we basically let other people define who we are without recognizing who we are, and we define other people without recognizing who we are not doing a great service as individuals in society.
No.
It goes beyond just saying a nice word or just pretending that you're going the high road, but really you're just being obnoxious about it. You have to actually appreciate someone for who they are, even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's when people mention war, and I'm going to finish on this last point, but when people mention that going to war, or starting a fight, or something like that, or evil, like defining evil, I almost want them to go talk to someone who has been in a genocide or like involved in like a refugee from a genocidal war or military men who saw their like basically just saw very dark things and just say like go talk with them about evil. Go talk with them about like what is really evil because they'll hear from someone saying that their uncle saying a racist comment is evil and just go like no that's not evil. Your uncle may be dumb. He's probably dumb, but he's not evil.
Yeah. I can see that. It's all relative.
Well, I think we'll finish on a hopeful note here because I do believe in the people and I wholeheartedly stand by them no matter what.
You gotta be, man. It's like you gotta have that. You gotta, we all choose the world that we want to live in, and you can decide to live in a world where you believe everybody is fucked up. But that's a pretty shitty world. Whereas if you try to live in a world where you have hope, then at least there's something worth living for.
Fantastic. No better way to say it. All right, sir. Clyde Auden, Mr. Powaup. Where can people find you on social media or any form of media in general?
Yeah, I would say Instagram. I'm at Smokey Bear. SHMOKEY. Otherwise, all my other stuff is Powaup. If you're into cars, that's like I have a second Instagram. I just picked up a Toyota Supra, a 2020.
Nice looking car. I saw the picture, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so I'll be putting up some more content for that, and then otherwise, yeah, definitely YouTube is something I plan on picking back up. But yeah, I'll be around.
Yep. And I want to give some thanks here. I want to give some thanks to Narmex. Thank you for joining me early on before the stream. Thank you for the follow as well. Mr. Claudio Castro, thank you for giving support to my boy, Mr. Clyde here. Sharpie, my man, I'm so glad I could always see you coming onto the chat. I love you, man.
Get in there with us.
Yep. You're always one of the good ones. It's been a good day. We've got to made it through, man. Made it through 6 hours. 6 hours. And
thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
I want to thank Rachel Feinberg for coming on to talk about her company. Once again, Clyde, thank you for coming in to talk about your journey through in your tribulations through entrepreneurship. You doing good things, man. I believe in you so hard, and I can't wait to see how you do in the future. Whether it's together or apart, I believe in you wholeheartedly.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Of course. Coming up, we'll have a couple more shows. Hopefully we'll have one next week. I have not gotten the confirmation, so I'm not going to say who the guest is until the paperwork is signed. So until then, please do check my Instagram. Please do check my Twitter. Please go check my TikTok if you just want to see me act like an idiot. But I will be having more shows coming up. You will be seeing this coming on YouTube. And otherwise, weekend's coming up, guys. It's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. The fact is that it's a new day. It's going to be a new day, and I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you get to all have a great Thanksgiving as well, and I will see you all in the next week. Take care, have fun, and good night.
Peace.
Peace.